you are never going to do anything with your life and you're going to be a failure. I'm like, I'm going to do it. We made like 100 grand just on the one night.
All the way back to the start.
My dad was an alcoholic, a dad abusing my mom. Everything in my childhood around alcohol is just riddled with bad memories. My mom's got cancer, she passed away. Since that day, everything I do in my life, I want to try and make my mom proud and really think about myself as a person and who I wanted to be.
Everyone knows the name Macro Mike. Multi-8-figure enterprise, partnered with some of the biggest organizations in Australia. Award in GC Young Entrepreneur as well, won the food and beverage 5 years running.
I'm like not vastly intelligent, I'm not vastly educated, I'm not vastly like lucky. I just have spent 8 to 10 years, 365 days, 8 to 10 hours a day, consistently doing the same thing.
Man, how did all that come about?
All the other protein brands were like just paying influencers. I just didn't want to be this brand that just had like paid to say Macro Mike is good. The only people I want like promoting Macro Mike are people that actually love the product. That journey meant that the products had to be really good.
What's the most consistent character trait that you've ever seen in the top 1% of performers that you've ever come into contact with?
Relate.
G'day listeners and welcome to another episode of the Top 1% podcast, where we peer into the minds of the ultra high performers and what makes them tick. We're going to be diving deep into their backstories, what made them who they are, shape their journeys, tell their stories of incredible triumphs, alongside the key takeaways from their biggest lessons and losses along the way. We're going to be talking to both athletes, business owners, and entrepreneurs. And today I'm excited because I've got all three rolled into one to give a bit of a rap sheet on this man and what he's achieved so far. He runs a multi-8-figure enterprise that is now a household name, partnered with some of the biggest organizations in Australia. He's been the Australian Young Entrepreneur of the Year, or he won that this year for the Food and Beverage Award in GC Young Entrepreneur as well, won the Food and Beverage 5 years running, 2020, 21, 2, 3, and 4. The man's a myth and a legend, and it's an absolute pleasure to have him in the studio. He was also voted the GC Rig of the Year by me when I first met him. He's a good-looking bloke. I personally love his protein. Everything about him all around. He's an absolute top bloke, Mr. Macro Mike Kellett. Mate, welcome to the show.
That is one hell of an intro.
Well deserved, mate. Well deserved.
Thank you so much, bro. And my favorite memory of you is when you jumped on stage to grab one of the awards and you just went, shout out to Magic Mike because I love his protein. And the whole room just like erupted. It was so funny. So you're an absolute legend, bro.
Mate, it's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure to have you here. And mate, in all seriousness, man, it's cool to be surrounded by other people, like entrepreneurs that are pushing and doing big things. Man, it's a testament to you for having mad protein. So well done to you on your end as well.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, man. It's been a, like you, bro, it's been a journey like, you know, from the start. So it's, you know, we're like 8 years in now for Macro Mike. It was another 2 years of me sort of building the Instagram, building the brand, building myself as a person in the fitness industry. So it's 10 years and, you know, everyone just sees it as the overnight success story, but it's, you know, 10 years of hustle. There's no shortcuts, right? Like,
man, I think anyone that's been in fitness or bodybuilding or even just like literally fitness and wanting to look after themselves and have protein and all the rest of it after training, man, everyone knows the name Macro Mike, you know what I mean? And what was crazy is before I met you, dude, or this is probably a couple of years before I even, you know, especially moved up to GC and started realizing you're actually a person.
Not just the name.
Dude, I thought it was his name. I thought it was just a brand. I thought it was just a cool idea. Because you saw especially the powdered like peanut butter, you know what I mean? Like you always saw that. People were always putting it into recipes and stuff.
Totally.
And dude, it's sick because you literally have been a household name now for many years, stocked in all the biggest sort of, man, dude, even to kick us off, like how does that feel, man? Like surely that's a surreal realization, you know?
Yeah. And you know what? Like we were at the Christmas party the other day with the team and it was like, I feel like the last 6 months, it's kind of got to the stage now where like, I just meet so many more people that have heard of Macro Mike than haven't. So like we were just at the Christmas party. The guy doing the drinks was like, I just said, oh, hey man, how are you? Like, you know, thanks for helping the team out. And he's like, oh, are you Mike? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I love your cookie dough protein. And it's just like, you know, it's just kind of got to the stage where like, yeah, like it feels like everybody knows the brand, which is so cool because my number one goal and mission from the start was just to get Macro Mike out there to as many people as possible.
Yep.
And I feel like it's finally, you know, it's really there. So it's really validating for like all the hustle, all the long days, late nights, you know, sacrifices and stuff. So yeah, it feels good.
It's unreal, man. It's unreal. It's actually funny. I was in the shop the other day. It's something I want to bring up. I'll bring it up a little bit later, but it was funny. I went to get your newest and greatest protein that I think's ever been created in the history of proteins, right? And I was literally in there, man, in IGA as well, because you're in all these others as well. And I went to grab this chick, came and went to get it at the same time. I was like, oh, after you.
Oh, that's cool.
Literally grabbed it off the shelf, man. There was a free shaker. I was like, man, this is unreal.
So that must have been the old gay time special.
It was, mate. It was.
We'll talk about that later.
Dude, I want to bring that up later. But, mate, it was even that thing, man, flying off the shelf. And
crazy.
Dude, again, I want to dive into that because like the time frame it must have gotten to get that approved. And I know we've chatted about this, but I'd love to chat about it in more detail today to even get that, approved. Because so many people that get like the different ones. I'm not going to shit can anyone else that's sort of out there with other things. But you try the other ones, man, and they don't taste like what they say they are. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, sweet.
It's
the
just
brand
marketing, right?
100%. And then you eat it, and you drink it, and it's like, it just tastes like it fucking chocolate
And that was the
protein.
thing with Gay Time. Like their number one thing was like, this has to taste like Gay Time. Otherwise, sorry, it's a no deal. And for them, it was like so left field going into protein powder. Like they're an ice cream company, you know? And the crazy thing was like when we launched it at the Sydney Fitness Expo, we had the big booth and it was all like, Macro Mike Golden Gay Time. And so many people came up to the booth and was like, oh, I didn't realize Golden Gay Time do protein now. And we were just like, yeah, let's take it. You know what I mean? They didn't even realize it was Macro Mike. They just thought it was Golden Gay Time protein.
That's mad.
But man, it was like, I think it went through like something like 38 revisions of internal and external taste testing, back and forward. It was like, oh, it needs more toffee notes. It has to taste more like this. Like here, it was a project. So
dude, it tastes hectic, man.
Yeah, it's good,
It's
right?
unreal.
Yeah.
it's unreal.
And so smooth because it's on the almond protein too.
Yeah. No, that's unreal, man. I know that even that in itself is a story to tell as well, right? Even around the almond piece. But man, honestly, hats off to you. I remember when I got it the first time it came in, I took the story, I sent you the story. And I was with my missus' brother and we both had it. To be honest, bro, like full disclosure, I was expecting it to be shit. I was expecting it to be like all the others that say, oh yeah, it tastes like this. And it just tastes like vanilla or chocolate or whatever, and we were just drinking it. And we're just like, what the hell? Tastes legit, right? It's unreal, man. It's unreal. Can I ask you before that? Is like, do you love a Golden Gay Time? Like, do you love a Gay Time?
Well, bro, I shouldn't really say it, but the crazy thing is, I'm gluten and dairy intolerant, right?
Oh no way.
So like, the only real Gay Time I've had is like the plant-based one, and like I can't even have that much of it because if I have too much gluten, it's like it's no good.
Kills you.
So like, I haven't even eaten that many Golden Gay Times.
Really?
But like, I kind of like understand the premise of it, the flavor, I've like tried them to get flavor evaluations. But I think, like I realized Gay Time would be big, but I didn't realize, I'm from the UK. I didn't realize like how iconic Gay Time is in Australia.
It's huge, man.
And especially for like the older generation, which has been kind of cool. And like, even like, when we were at the expo, it was like all the tradies that were rigging up all the stands. Oh man, Gay Time, my favorite ice cream. It was like, had this massive wide appeal that I knew it was going to be big, but I had no idea it was going to like blow up like it has. And 100%. It's just like become, like our best selling product, but also such a big pull to bring new customers in that like maybe have seen Macro and Mike, but then it's just that instant validation. Like, oh yeah, Gay Time, get it. It's going to taste good. Like have a crack. So it's been mad. That's
mad, man. How good. It's funny, dude. I 100% agree with you. And especially as a kid, man, it was the two things you'd get. If you could get an ice cream, it'd be a Gay Time or it'd be a Magnum, right? Like a Magnum Ego or something like Magnums. That. Maybe that's the next flavor.
Maybe next.
But the Gay Time, bro, was always, especially when I was a kid, that was always my go-to because it's hectic, man. So when I saw you bring that out, I was like, surely not. So, mate, well done on actually delivering the flavor, not being a hoax. So, well done, mate. Well done. I know there's a lot we're going to dive into that further in. But, mate, what I love to do is I want to go all the way back to the start. Yep. And I know you've got a cool upbringing story. I know you've got a lot of love for a certain person in particular. When I was doing a lot of digging on you, man.
Yeah, man.
Mate, I love to go back to the backstory because almost everyone that I found that's ultra high performing, it's always a backstory that shapes who they are. Totally. It's very rare that someone gets through and then or has a great upbringing or just like doesn't have a bit of trauma, a bit of shit in there and a bit of hard work they had to have in their youth, whether it's literally as a kid and then teenager and then coming into, it shapes them, right? It shapes you into a harder individual. Now, you're obviously from the UK, man. I would love to hear your backstory, man. If you want to run us through, exactly what happened.
How far you want to go back? Right back.
Man, came out of the womb. What's it looking back?
Yeah. So I mean, you make the best point, bro. And like, I got nothing against anyone that's been dealt really good cards and they've had a really cruisy life. I think that's awesome. Like, no disrespect. You can't choose your journey, right?
100%.
But like, I think same as you, listening to so many entrepreneur stories, there's so many that went through so much trauma and had so many setbacks. And I think it's what builds that resilience. And, you know, for me, so I grew up in the UK, you know, obviously I'm from Leeds, like Northern England, you know, just normal family, like mum was a nurse, dad was a teacher, like, you know, just normal, right? And so when I was 6, my mum and dad got divorced. My dad was an alcoholic. So, you know, a lot of my early childhood memories was like my dad abusing my mom and then like my mom trying to like hold the family together and, you know, like kind of not really let it affect me and my brother. So he's like 3 years older than me. And yeah, so my mom and dad, they got divorced when I was 6. I just remember one day we like went to the park and my mom was like, we're not going home. We're going to grandma and granddad's.
Oh, shit.
And so we like went to live at my grandma and granddad's for like a year. And yeah, my dad was like in and out of AAs and rehab, et cetera, et cetera. And then, yeah, when I was 12, my dad passed away from liver failure. So I literally got back from school one day and my mom was like, oh, your dad's in the hospital. We need to go see him. And I just remember like we got to the ward and like my mom was like, fuck, I don't even want you to see him. And we were just like, oh, like it's all good. And then we went to like see my dad and he's like laying in the bed. He's like bright yellow from like jaundice. His teeth were black. He just drank himself to death. And like he stayed in hospital for like 3-4 days and then passed away. So, you know, I feel like that was kind of the first real like thing that I feel like just made me grow up like way quicker than anyone else my age. It was like, you know, my mom was very much like, after that happened, the day after, she's like, you know, we were moping around and she just kind of was like, all right, get your school uniform on, you go into school, like you just got to keep going, you know, and like just make it happen. So I think I've always just kind of like been one of those people that no matter what's happened in my life and no matter what's going on behind the scenes, I just am really good at kind of just like putting one foot in front of the other and just keeping going. So, you know, that was probably like the first real big hurdle. And then, so I was pretty depressed. I was pretty overweight. Like I used to get bullied at school and shit like that because I sort of just was like, you know, wasn't into sport, like just had like long hair, you know, just dredgy teenager, like, you know.
Where'd the hair go?
Oh man, no hair now. Like, you know, never got any girls. Like I was just kind of like the loser at school and like got bullied. And, you know, I remember I was playing football one day and some kid was like, you know, pass the ball, you fat fuck and all this shit. And I was like, oh man, like, you know, and then, so that was another moment where I was like, oh, I'm going to do something about it. So then my mom was like, all right, well, let's join the gym, you know? So I was like 100 kilos at 16 years old and I dropped something like 30 kilos and then, you know, lost a bunch of weight, got really into fitness. And like, honestly, like fitness is probably and the gym is probably the only thing that kind of got me out of that like real bad depression cycle. Like, you know, I tried to self-harm and stuff like that when I was younger. Like, you know, so gym really like kind of saved me and I kind of owe everything to the gym. And then, so when I was at school, like I was kind of like you, bro, sort of, you know, I think high school dropout, right?
Yeah.
And like, so like everything, I went to this school, like Catholic school, and everything was about, all right, everyone's going to university. You have to go to university.
Yeah.
You got to fill in this thing called like a UCAS form, which is like basically when you apply for uni. And I just straight said, I don't want to go to uni. And they were like, you know, oh, you have to go to university. Like, even if you don't want to go, just fill out this UCAS form. And I was like, man, I ain't going to uni. I'm not filling out this form. Like, and I literally remember my head of year said to me was like, if you don't go to university and fill this form out, you are never going to do anything with your life and you're going to be a failure. And that was another moment in my life where I was like, you know, if someone tells me that I'm not going to be able to do something, I'm like, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? 100%. And I'm going to do it 10 times as good. Yeah. So that was like another pivotal point, was kind of like, so anyway, I just said, I'm not going to uni, didn't fill out the UCAS form, was like the black sheep of the school. You know, everyone was like, oh, Mike's no good, blah, 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 blah. And then because I'd like lost weight, really got on top of my mental health, felt really good, got confident, you know, girls started like talking to me and stuff. I was like, whoa, this is cool. So then when I was...
Well, you're the bad boy now. You're the kid not going to uni. That's where the chicks came from.
I shaved the hair off. I was just like, yeah, man.
Got jacked.
Yeah, got jacked. I was like, you know, looking pretty decent. got jacked, shaved the hair off. And then so like didn't go down the uni path. I was like, all right, what can I do that's going to like validate me? So I was like, oh man, I can become a personal trainer. I can help people that are overweight go through the journey that I did. So basically, I got to 18. I moved out, got my own place.
You moved out home 18?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When my dad passed away, like there was like a little bit of a trust fund that was left. I think it was like $20,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of just was like, all right, I'm going to do my PT course. I'm going to use this because I know dad would have wanted me to like have a bit of a head start. I'm going to use this. I'm going to pay for somewhere for me to live. And then I'm just going to go all in on this personal training journey. Yeah. Did this PT course, became a personal trainer, got a job in Leeds, like city centre. So, you know, training corps and stuff like that. And then, became a personal trainer, pretty successful at personal training, moved to a couple of different gyms, like grew my client base. And, you know, at one point I was like fully booked for PT, crushing it. I know you love property. I managed to buy a property at like 21 back in the UK. Like got a little penthouse in the city.
No way.
Yeah, man.
It was in Leeds?
Yeah, in Leeds.
That's hectic.
120,000 pounds, I think it was at the time. Yeah, it was sick. Like one bed with parking. So then I kind of like lived there, did my thing, just save. And then, so what happened next? So then, doing the personal trainer thing. And then I had a like pretty decent relationship with a chick at the time. Yep. And it just went real toxic. She was like cheating on me. Like heaps of dudes that she cheated on me with were like training at the gym I was working at. Fuck. So like my like sanctuary of where I spent all my time, work, training, just became this like toxic place. Yep. And me and my buddy Chris, who like was living with me at the time, we'd been to Vegas for like his 21st birthday. Had like a mad time. Anyway, so we went to Vegas again for like the second year or whatever. I think I was 22 then, and came back to Leeds. And I was just like, oh man, I just can't keep coming to this gym and it's just too much.
Yeah, 100%.
So I said to Chris, I'm like, I'm going to move to Las Vegas. And he's like, what? And so anyway, and then I told everyone at the gym, I'm like, I'm going to move to Vegas. They're like, how are you going to do that? You don't have a work visa. You don't have blah, blah, blah. And
just like cashies.
Just cash special, get on the Esther. And then so one of the guys that was working at the gym, he had this uncle who lived in Las Vegas, who owned a gym, who needed personal trainers because they have like a waiting list for clients. And I was like, 22, this sounds amazing. Didn't think this sounds a bit too good to be true. It sounds like I'm getting full stitched up. So anyway,
So this is when you were sold into child slavery or slavery?
Literally, bro, literally. So I like sold my car, rented my apartment out, basically turned my PT business into an online PT business. This was back in like 2013 before like, online personal training was even a thing.
Yeah, of course.
And also at the same time, the big thing that was probably the catalyst for obviously the stuff that was happening in the gym. Yeah. So there was like basically kind of like, what do you call it here? The dole, like welfare. Yeah, Centrelink. Yeah. So over in the UK, what they were doing was like people that were on Centrelink were like basically the government was funding them to do like level 3 and level 4 fitness and personal training courses. And I was just like, man, this industry is just cooked. It's just done. Yeah. So that was kind of the catalyst. So anyway, young Mike was like, all right, I'm going to Las Vegas. I'm going to train celebrities. I'm going to like live my best life, blah, 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 blah. Got on the plane and I was just like couch surfing at some dude's place. I was like, hey, I need you to take me here. I've got to meet this guy at the gym.
The uncle.
Yeah. So anyway, I get there, man, they're crazy. And I get there and he's like balls deep in this conversation with this other dude. I was like, hey man, I'm Mike, so excited. He's like, oh, I just sit there. And I'm like earwigging, kind of listening to this conversation. And it turns out that the uncle was like about to go to prison because he was like the accomplice to burning down a gym in Vegas.
Holy
basically.
Shit.
Yeah, and not like a competitor's gym. And also heard that they'd like done mad insurance fraud where like they would basically like steal all the equipment from one gym in like Nevada and then steal all the equipment from another gym in like Florida. Yeah. And then basically like lay low with the equipment for 6 months, get all the insurance money, and then swap the equipment at the gym, like just all this mad shit. So I was just like 22, didn't know anyone in Vegas.
So hang on, you were just hearing that conversation.
Bro, the first day I'm in Las Vegas, I've just like put my whole life on pause for this.
Wow.
So I was like, oh man, this is going to be a journey. And anyway, so finally got to chat to this guy. And, you know, he's like, oh, bro, like we actually just filled the position. We don't really have any roles here. Like we're kind of like really full with personal trainers. But I've got another gym like 20 Ks away. You can go work there. And like Vegas is like all the money's in the Strip. And then there's a couple of really nice areas.
Okay.
And everywhere else is just like full ghetto.
So was this one of the really nice areas or this is one of the ghettos?
It was the ghetto.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I'll go work there. It's like in probably one of the roughest parts of Vegas to the point where I like obviously got a place to stay there, just shacked up with some random dude. I had a bike. I didn't even have a car. So I just had a push bike. I used to go to Walmart and I had to like take the front wheel off my bike because people would literally steal it. And then I would take my wheel around the supermarket, bro. Like crazy. And my mom's like calling me every day, like, are you all good? And I'm just like, you know, playing it down. But she was so fucking worried. Like, she's like, you know, what are you doing in Vegas? Like, what's happening? Are you all good? So anyway, like, I like hustled at this gym for like 4 months. And I used, for a month, 4 weeks. And I used to do these like health assessments where I do everyone's like blood glucose, blood cholesterol, like body fat, or like it was pretty legit.
Yeah.
So I just did free assessments, like consultations. And then after like 4 weeks, I finally booked in like a full day of PT.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. Like, you know, maybe this will go somewhere. I've cracked it. And then I was like riding my bike to the gym, got to the gym and then looked at my phone and like out of the 7 clients that I booked in, like 5 of them had canceled. No. And I was just like, man, what am I going to do? And then so Chris, who I'd been to Vegas with before, who's my best mate, he was like coming up to see me. And I'd kind of just like, again, been sort of, you know, playing. I was embarrassed, man. Like,
of course.
You know, I was like tail between my leg, couldn't go home, didn't want to do that piece of just going home and being like, oh, I failed kind of thing. So anyway, he came to like stay and he's just like, Mike, like what is happening? Where are you living? What's going on? Like, what is this place? And I said, bro, you need to get me out of here. I got to go. So we literally like, I wrote a note for my guy I was staying with, left him like $300 and just said, hey, sorry, family emergency, had to fly back to the UK. And then me and Chris booked a week in the Luxor hotel on the Strip.
Yeah.
And then basically when I'd been in Vegas before, we'd done all these like pub crawl things.
Yeah, right.
And the guy who sold us a ticket was English. And obviously I was on an ESTA visa. I couldn't just get a job. So I just went up to these guys and said, hey, look, I'm on an ESTA visa. I can sell anything. Just give me a job. I just need some money. So anyway, like long story short, did that, started selling tickets, stayed there for like 9 months. And within 9 months, I was like the #1 club crawl seller in the world.
No way. In the world?
Because it was like Vegas, Ibiza and Australia.
Yeah, right.
And it was just like, they were the free spots. Yeah. And it was just like, and I was just every week it was like top seller, Mike, top seller. All the Americans hated me because I'm like making, taking all the money off of them. Like had to go back to the UK, get another visa, like had to get like a B1 visa. So I had to like make up this whole road trip of like, hey, this is what I'm doing in America, like blah, 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 blah. And then
Were you making decent money doing the sales?
It's all good.
Oh yeah?
And all cash.
No way.
And what they did was they paid you like 75% like on the week.
Yeah.
And then they kept 25% for like good faith, good behavior.
Okay.
So when I left Vegas, they just gave me all these envelopes of like, man, I got like 25% of every week that I'd worked there.
Hectic.
It was wild, bro.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And then so from there, I met a bunch of like Aussies.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, because my visa like ran out. I was like exhausted, all options. They were like, oh, you should come sell pub crawls for schoolies. And I was like, oh, what's schoolies? And then they're like, oh, it's in Surfers Paradise in Australia, real easy, get a working holiday visa, boom. You can come crash at Chevron Renaissance. We've got this like apartment.
Yeah.
So I was like, sweet, 23, came to Australia, came straight to Surfers, was living in Chevron, just sharing a room with my mate. And then I was just selling pub crawls on the streets in Surfers. And this whole time, like fitness and bodybuilding and gym was like my whole thing. So like even when I was in Vegas, I wasn't really partying. It wasn't really like I don't drink. So for me, it was just kind of like going to pool parties in the day, having fun.
At 21, 22 in Vegas, you're not drinking?
No, I don't drink at all. So like, cause of my dad and shit, like,
shit.
And nothing against anyone that drinks. Like, I get it fully. But for me personally, just like
You've had that trauma, yeah?
bro, seeing what my dad did to himself, it's just like, fuck, I just, and just everything in my childhood around alcohol is just like riddled with bad memories, you know, like him nearly crashing a car with me and my brother in it, you know, just heaps of like trauma. So for me, I was just like, nah, I just don't want to drink. You know, I've probably drank like 10 times in my whole life. Like,
wow, man.
So came to Surfers, and then into the gym, training, fitness, selling pub crawl tickets, just doing the hustle, like working beer garden, like, you know, just hustling, selling schoolies. Like there was one schoolies where there was 4 of us, we worked at Chevron Renaissance. It was wild. And basically I had this mad idea. I was like, because it's all sponsored by like schoolies.com and 1-800-Schoolies. And
1-800-Schoolies.
Whatever it is.
Is that what's called?
Yeah, I think it's 1-800-Schoolies. And so one of the like there was a bunch of 17-year-olds that had been for the week before, and we were obviously selling the 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And they all had these lanyards with like schoolies.com. So I just went up to one and was like, hey, I'll buy 4 of your lanyards for $5 each. They couldn't even take them off quick enough.
Yeah.
So then we put these lanyards on. And then as the kids were arriving, we're like, hey guys, we're from schoolies.com. We're selling all your party tickets for the week. Got all our club crawls out. We're selling them this like week pass where it was like $250 you get. And it was legit. It was you get like a boat party. There's Geordie Shore on it. You get like pub crawls every night, drinks, food.
Should we go after or?
Yeah, keen, bro. And then of the 250, we were on 40% commission. So there was buses of kids coming out. I'd sign up like 20 people, $250, like,
bus.
and I'd make like 100 per person. It was like $2,000, boom. So we made between, I think there was 4 of us, we made like $100,000 just on the one night, and we sat in the apartment just eating Nando's, and there's just all this cash, and then we paid it into like the boss and stuff. It was crazy. So that's kind of how it all started, and then I was doing all my fitness stuff.
Sorry, can I just ask one thing, right? Yeah. Is schoolies is for a month of the year, right? Because you have the 2 different, so all the different states come at different times to servers. What did you do for the other 11 months of the year?
Just selling tourists.
Still selling pub crawls.
So pub crawls, man.
Okay,
pub crawls.
Down the street.
So you'd have like footy season, all the footy teams would come.
Trips and stuff.
Yeah, man. I'd have the S-Boss machine. I'd be like going to the island hostel, just like signing all the footy teams up, you know? And it's like a legit product. It's really good.
Yeah, they're still getting there.
And if there's a crew of you, like you're not getting in. So it's like the best way to do it.
100%.
So yeah, selling the pub crawls, and then
Are you still selling for them or?
No. Bro.
You sure you don't want to drop your 1-800
I know, right?
Macro Mike Schoolies tickets?
Literally, bro. It was just such good money. But it got to the point where you know, I was 20, I think the last time I did, I'm 33 now. It was probably like when I was like 29.
Yeah.
And it just got to the point where like the age gap between me and the kids was so big that I just couldn't even get on their level anymore. Yeah. Like, you know, I was just this like old dude who was trying to sell them partying. And
especially the 17, 18-year-olds.
Totally,
like
man.
The big money maker. And all that.
Totally. And I was just like, man, I just can't get on your guys' level anymore. I don't know, you know, like all this social media lingo and they just fall out. Yeah. So I was like, and they're still crushing it. There's still dudes that are like 45 selling pop crawls and making cash. But for me, I was like, I need to get off the street.
Cool.
And then so I was like mad into the bodybuilding, fitness, did like heaps of competitions.
Yep.
So I was like men's fitness and men's physique
through
IMBA, which is like natty. So you know, it's all just like not big, but just lean and condition.
Yeah, 100%. So natty obviously being natural, not juiced up.
Exactly.
No steroids and stuff.
Just macro and mic protein.
There we go. And just that. Just injecting that straight into the arm.
Straight into the veins.
Powder, or do you mix a bit of water in with it?
Bit of water.
Yeah. You got to get a little bit of fluid in there, right?
100%. But yeah, so I was
paying for powder. Just straight in.
Well, man.
That's what I do.
Another funny story. Just real quick on a tangent.
Take your time.
My buddy Tom in the UK, back when I was like first started training, he did a bodybuilding comp.
Yeah.
And he hadn't had water for like 2 days. And just thinking of the powder story, he goes, oh, do you reckon like if I just put a scoop of protein in my mouth, it'll like figure out? Hadn't had water for 2 days. I remember he literally put a scoop of protein in his mouth, and then he just like looked at me like this, like, and then he just goes like, and all this powder just like spurs into the air. All the moisture that was left in his mouth. But yeah, just funny tangent.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was competing IMBA. You know, got some medals like second, third. Yep. Almost got an overall up in Townsville, but I got gypped by some kid that was like 50 kilos, and I was like, oh man, like this guy's so small.
No way.
And then so at the same time, like this was when macros and flexible dieting and tracking your macros was getting like really popular.
Interesting.
And kind of becoming a bit more mainstream. And before that, everyone had sort of just been like, oh, you want to do a comp, you just got to eat chicken and broccoli 6 times a day, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like what I was doing was getting shredded, and I was like eating like pancakes and waffles and like all this like mad protein stacked like desserts and stuff. Had this Instagram page, Macro Mike. And basically I was just posting all my creations and like saying, hey guys, you know, I've just had this massive stack of pancakes. It's like 70 grams of protein, blah, 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 blah. And so that's kind of like the very early days of Macro Mike, like how it started.
Yeah.
I was just literally for probably a year and a half, like posting all the recipes, growing the Instagram page, posting like all my food and stuff. And when I competed, it got to the point where like they stopped like announcing Mike Kellett. It was like, oh, it's Macro Mike. And everybody started to know me as Macro Mike.
Interesting.
So it was kind of like, you know, it wasn't like I just launched this business and just thought, hey, I'm going to sell like brownies or whatever.
Yeah.
It was kind of like me that, you know, at the time I was tracking my macros, but also being gluten and dairy intolerant. There was like literally no foods that were gluten-free, dairy-free, high protein. Or if they were, they just tasted like
shit.
So bad. All the vegan proteins tasted like sand.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they were like, everyone used to say like, oh, is that protein? It's good for a vegan protein.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I was like, man, I just want to make a protein that actually tastes good and it doesn't have the statement for a vegan protein behind it.
100%.
So, you know, like I was looking at kind of like trends in the US, looking at different protein styles, looking at different protein ingredients. And I saw this like powdered peanut butter. I think it was PB2 or something, the brand at the time. And I just remember like thinking, oh, that's a cool product. Like I'm making all these pancakes. Maybe I'll make like a higher protein version of that. So we kind of like blended that PB2 product with, you know, plant protein, like pea and rice protein or whatever. And then one day, and we had this small product range, like a brownie mix, a blondie mix, and 2 peanut butters.
Yeah.
And then it was like one day, I think I forgot my protein shake in the gym or whatever. And I had some of this powdered peanut butter in my bag. And I was like, wonder what it'd be like if you drink that. So I put it in a shaker, drank it, and I was like, holy shit, this is like mad. And the texture was crazy. Like the taste.
So you'd never tried it? Like never tried drinking it?
You just mix it with like a peanut butter alternative, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that was kind of like the eureka moment of that. But yeah, if we go back to sort of like, so the early stages of Macro Mike, just had this Instagram page. This was before like Shopify, before like, you know, really like websites, before.
How old were you then? Well, like
20.
How old were you?
So this was 8 years ago. So 33.
25.
Yeah, 25. Yeah. So back 25, had these products, had this Instagram page. And then it just started happening like that every time I'd post. And also back then, the algorithm was so good that I could do a post and it would get like 150 comments. Whereas now you do a post, it gets nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like unless you boost it or spend on ads. But back in the day, it was like every time I do a recipe and post it on my socials, everyone was like, oh man, like, where can I buy this? Can you make me pancakes? Can you do this? Can you do that?
You make me pancakes.
And I was like, I'm never gonna make a business scalable by like essentially making people stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought like if I can make like a dry mix, like where people can just add water and I can ship it anywhere in the world, maybe that's got legs.
100%.
So I literally have like, and I've got a photo, I'll share it with you. It was like Ziploc bags from Coles, put like my brownie mix in there, my blondie mix, my 2 powdered peanut butters.
Yeah.
And then I like printed stickers off the printer and just stuck them on the bag.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then I just remember putting a post on my Instagram just saying like, busy night in the Macro Mike factory, just making our like concepts for the products. Let me know if anyone's interested, like launching 1st of Jan. And this was like October or something. Yeah. And then went to sleep, didn't really think anything of it. Or I think I did a giveaway or it was like a competition or something. It was like tag your friend and you can win one and let me know if you want to order. And then
this is just in your kitchen?
In the kitchen.
Yeah.
Manchester Circle on Cavill, bro. Like,
oh, no way.
Yeah, man. Just living in Manchester Circle.
That's mad.
I'll tell you the cement mixer story. But yeah, Manchester Circle on Cavill. So then I like went to bed, didn't really think anything of it. Woke up in the morning and my DMs, bro, was just like, I was scrolling Insta and I just like could not believe how many people had messaged me, been like, where can I order? How can I pre-order this? How can I get involved? I want to support you. Like, where can I get this from?
No way.
So, and it was just fucking goosebumps, man. Like, it was just that surreal moment where I was just like, oh man, this is like,
Here we go.
This is a business. This is something that I can do.
Yeah.
And so like, I basically was like, all right, well, what can I do? I don't have a website. I know how to invoice because I used to just invoice for personal training. I had like Stripe invoicing.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, hey, this is how it's going to go down. I've got this starter pack. You get 2 bacon mixes, 2 nut butters. You get a silicone tray. You get everything you need to make it. It's called a starter pack.
Okay.
It's going to be shipped on the 1st of Jan. This is the price if you want to lock in. I just need like your shipping details. I need your phone number, boom. And then I'll send you an invoice. Once you've paid, locked in, I'm only doing 100 of them.
Yeah.
So the next 2 days, I went through all the DMs, copy paste, boom, 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 boom. And then had like 100 pre-orders locked in for January.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I guess I would liken it to like a Kickstarter,
100%.
but manual.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, you know, I had a bit of money, but not like shitloads of money to throw into stock. You know, it was kind of like, I was still chipping away at like paying my property off in the UK and sending money back to like support my mom and like, you know, shit like that. It's not like I had heaps of money just to dump into inventory. So this like really helped like get a head start on being able to like buy all the stuff. So then basically, like for the next couple of months, I just kept posting like recipes, teasing with like the Ziploc bags then went into like a brown bag with like still stickers printed on it and was like, you know, V2 of packaging. Everyone's getting excited, blah, blah, blah. Ordered like all
Getting excited by the brown paper
literally,
bag.
man. Yeah, by the brown paper bag.
Hope something else is coming in this.
Literally. And then like, so then we, then I like ordered all the silicone from like China and it ended up being like 100 boxes and it all rocked up and I was like, oh man, where am I going to, because, you know, I thought 1,000 units. You just don't think in your
100%.
head like how much volume that's going to be. Yeah. And then it all rocked up to my house. And then I just started buying all these ingredients. And then I was just literally, just like mixing stuff together by hand, like mixing the brownies.
Way.
Going to Coles and Woolies, buying all the ingredients, like, you know, all the flours, all the proteins. I was like buying the peanut protein from iHerb and it was coming from the US. Yeah. And like the DHL driver would like stop at the booth at Beer Garden and like drop off my delivery. I'd like sell pub crawls in the day. Then I'd go home, mix all the brownies together.
No way. Did you do the combo of like, here's the pub crawl plus a macro?
Literally. Some of them I did. Man.
No way.
Yeah, some of them.
Did you carry around the backpack with it?
I met, fuck, it's funny. I met these chicks from New Zealand that all were like Les Mills, like instructors or some shit. Right. And like, I don't know, we just got talking and I was like, you know, I'm not really a big partier. They're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I have this business. Like I've just started, blah, blah, blah. And then they were like getting on board and loving it and shit. Way. So it was really cool.
That's funny as.
And then so
come on to us for a drink, but it's a
literally
plant-based protein.
Come for a protein shake, hey. And then
I love that.
And then so like, I had to make the decision then. So we were gonna launch 1st of Jan.
Yeah.
So I had to make the decision of like, all right, do I work New Year, which is massive in the pub crawl world? Of course. Or do I spend my New Year just making brownies and getting all these orders out the door? And it was tough because it was like, I needed the money to buy more inventory, buy more stock. And so I was like, nah, like I'm going to go, like, you know, I'm going to really go for this business thing, this macro Mike. Because I know that like there's only so much money I can make selling pop crawls and I have to physically sell every day. I start at zero and it was commission only. So if you make no money, you make nothing. Yeah. So I was like, I want to get to the point where like, I don't have to like, you know, not work, but I don't have to like actually physically trade my like time for money because I'd always done that personal training. It was like, you can only make a certain amount of hours. So then I remember I was like in my apartment, it's New Year. I'm like making all these brownies. My boss is like texting me like top seller for the day, $5,000, second, $4,000. I'm just like, mate, you're just really trying my patience, eh? But I was like, nah, like bigger picture. I was like, I watched this video, I think it's Les Brown, like on the bamboo tree. Have you ever seen that? No. So he talks about the bamboo tree and this has become like symbolic in my whole business journey. So the Chinese bamboo tree grows to like the tallest tree in the world, but it takes 5 years of like watering it, nurturing it for it to even sprout. Yep. So I've always used that analogy of like a business because essentially your business is like when you're at the start and the first few years, you put in all your effort into it. You're giving it everything.
Barely seeing anything.
Literally, bro. Yeah. And if at one point you stop, same with the bamboo tree, if you just stop for a week or whatever, it's gonna that whole like 3 years progress or whatever is done. And then after 5 years, the bamboo tree grows to like 200 meters tall within like 2 weeks.
Oh, what?
So it's like, and then at that point, everybody sees this business 5 years on and been like, oh, wow, like how did you build all this in the last 2 weeks? But it's been the 5 years behind that.
Of course.
So essentially I was like, in my head, I was like, nah, think of Les Brown, think of the bamboo tree, think of the bigger picture. And then, so yeah, I was just like hustling, making the brownies, you know, then after New Year, once I'd got all the pre-orders out the door, still selling the pub crawls. I used to basically sell pub crawls. I'd like take 2 or 3 orders with me on my skateboard, skate through surfers, drop them at the post office, go back to selling pub crawls, pretty much work all day, go home, make brownies. Yeah. And it was just that cycle for like the next 12 months of just trying to like, just get it all happening.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So on that, with like just one quick question on that as well. With the New Year's thing, right? Yeah. The reason why you didn't is because you knew that you had to get them out in time on the 1st. Is that the whole reason?
Just because I'd promised people, that
you would get it out on the 1st. Okay, that makes sense.
And I knew that for business, it was like customer service is number one. So I was like, I could make a bunch of money, or I could and let everyone down and say, hey, sorry, it's been delayed.
Yeah.
But even from the start, I was very much like, you know, even when it was really small, even just little things like I was always like, oh man, I don't want this customer to wait more than a day for the order kind of thing. Yeah. And that's something we've sort of like taken through even after 8 years now. And it was, you know, at the start I was like handwriting notes for everyone. And
you know what's so funny, man? Something with that is, man, I remember when you spoke to me on we first met at the Young Entrepreneur of the Year, was the GC ones. And then I saw you again at the Australian ones because we both won our individual categories, went to the Australians. And then, man, I remember you said to me, you did the biggest Black Friday sale you ever did, and then you sold out. And I remember thinking, man, why wouldn't you just keep selling and wait till it comes in and then do it? And I didn't say it because like I was just like, oh, whatever. And then as you say that just then, it's like, that makes so much sense. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's almost like and we're very much the same. So we close it, we're obviously in property, right? We close our books for 3 months. Yeah. Like we're 6 weeks into a 3-month closure of signing clients on because we can't facilitate on the back end right now. We need to close the books, catch back up. December, January are our slowest months in terms of sourcing because every real estate agent in the world goes on holidays, and so do sellers. So we need to close it down so we can still maintain what our word is on our time frame of turnaround and delivery.
Totally.
And then, man, when I remember I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, I was like, it must be that reason. But then hearing it come from you like that, it's like, I still thought, like surely you would just sell to that total amount. But you said you sold out of all the big things. And then you're like, you know what? Like this is the end price and thing you can't sell.
And bro, even like I was looking at the production plans, being like, I know that's going to be in stock in 4 days. I know that's going to be in stock in 6 days. But like, I've just always had a bit of a like, I don't know. I've just always had like a mentality where like, if I don't physically have the stock, I just get that real icky feeling inside where I'm like selling it ahead of time because, you know, with production, it's like you could have a breakdown, right? And then like the line could run, or we could have like a product recall and it doesn't pass QC. So like I know heaps of people in the e-commerce world that will just sell till the cows come home. They'll sell shit that's in a container on the way and they'll say it's in Australia and they're literally selling the container and it's on the water. Yeah. They'll even go to the extremes of like scanning the label to say like it's been sent when it's still in a
no way.
I know so much shit that goes down, but just for me personally, I've just always kind of like been like a bit of an unwritten rule for Macro Mike is like if we don't have it, we won't sell it, and it's also good because when your best sellers do sell out, obviously like some people will wait, but it does filter down the sales to like the slower movers as well.
That's true
because it's still on sale. People are still like, oh, I'll try that or give that a go or get that next time. That's true. But yeah, I'm big on sort of like customer service, not like over promising and under delivering, you know, always like under promise and over deliver.
Yeah. Where do you think that comes from? Because most people aren't like that.
I don't know, man. Like I've just always like, if I do something, I just do it to the best of my ability, like with anything, you know? So like, even if it's selling pop crawls, if it's like being a personal trainer, like, you know, I remember when I was a PT, like there were like, I worked in like a 24/7 gym. So it was like pods that you had to put a code in and, you know, it was all like locked and stuff. So it was 24/7. And I remember like all the PTs would be sat in the PT room and someone would like bell the door and everyone would just look at each other like, oh, who wants to get it? Yeah. And I'd just be like, boom, I'll go get it. Potential client. And, you know, there'd be times where I'd like go out and then that client would get 3 sessions a week. Their friend would get 3 sessions a week. And all the PTs would be like, oh, that Mike's so lucky. He's just so lucky. He's just so lucky. And same with the pub crawls. It was always like, Mike's so lucky. He just gets all these groups. And I'm like, what? I've been lucky for 4 years. Like it's called work ethic. Like,
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they could have the same person, the same group, and completely crucify the sale or butcher it. You know what I mean?
Man, you know what I've always found? I love your opinion on this as well. A coach back when I used to play back in the day, he called it the 1%ers, right? And the more you go through, I've gone through life and had different coaches. Different people have kind of said it offhandedly here and there as well. Dude, that's literally just the 1%er. Like even that ability of everyone has the ability, everyone's sitting there in the room, but they all make the decision, all look around, fuck, I don't want to get up. And then here's you jumping up every single time. I don't believe in luck at all. You know what I mean? Like it's even lottery, man, you still got to buy a fucking ticket. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't win the lottery because I never buy a ticket. You know what I mean? So like ultimately, even though that is probably the closest thing you could get to luck, at the same time, you got to buy a ticket to win the race, right? Or whatever. So I look at that from that end, man, and like all these little things. And it goes back to, I think the same as like not overselling a product, not selling a product that you don't have in stock as well. It's a 1%er in the way that you look at it from a business perspective that retains the integrity of the brand. I wonder if that drills back to even like your mum's like work ethic and integrity, moral values, compass, everything you got brought up with as well. Because it sounds like you were, very close, not closely managed, but like you were very close with your mum, to that point when you moved out. You probably still were after that point as well. Yeah. But like, I wonder if that was you being potentially a piece in there too, because I've always had that integrity piece as well. I don't really know anyone else in our industry that closes the books for 3 months. You know what I mean? Like close the books for 3 months. It's the same sort of thing. You don't have the product, you don't sell it. It's those little 1%ers that exactly that, man, retain the business and the integrity of the product and the brand.
For sure. And I think you're right, bro. Like, my mom, so like we didn't have a lot, but like we would always have like nice clothes, food on the table, clean shoes. We would always have nice uniforms to go to school. And like, if my mom couldn't afford it, she would work like Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, right.
Like, so she was a nurse, like just a practice nurse, but she would then do like, little cash in hand, like with the surgeon, just kind of like as their right hand, like on a weekend and shit, just to, so we could have nice things for Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that. And, like my brother was a bit of a devil child, like love him to bits. He's a legend, but he was like, he was a pain when he was younger. And so like me and my mom became really close because like they weren't that close.
Yeah.
And I think her work ethic with then like my dad was a teacher, but he's also like very entrepreneurial, and he was like he was a teacher. Then he started working for like British Aerospace and doing like robotics and stuff. And like he was kind of one of the first people to like pioneer design and technology and computer technology, like into robotics, into schools and stuff, and very entrepreneurial. So I think like I've always kind of like had that entrepreneur side, but then I've always had that like just work ethic grit from my mom. And I think those two combined have just like played a real big part in work ethic. And like losing my dad, it was always kind of like, I'm going to make my dad proud and follow on the entrepreneur journey for the Kellett name. And then, my mom. So when I was probably like 2 years into Macro Mike, maybe even 3 years into Macro Mike, like I was so close to my mom, and we used to just call like all the time, message, And then I remember there was like one time when she called me and I was talking to her in the car, and it was like on the loudspeaker and that. And it was like, I think I was like coming home in a couple of weeks, and I said like, I'll be home in a few weeks. Are you excited? And she kind of just like then like changed the subject and was like, oh yeah, the weather's like not that great today. And I thought it was maybe just like the hands-free in my car, like cutting out. And I was like, oh, are you excited to see me? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm super excited. But I was like real weird. And I was just like, I called my brother after and I said, I just got this real weird feeling that like there's something wrong with mom.
Yeah.
And so like, anyway, didn't really think anything of it. She remarried. She had another partner, so Pete, my stepdad. So I kind of was like, oh, well, she's with Pete. Everything's cool, it'd be sweet. And then we had like a tiny little, so after I moved out of my apartment, moved Macro Mike out of my apartment, got like a real tiny little shed in Burleigh, just down on Flint Court. And it was like 200 square meters or whatever, really rogue, just like somewhere where we could just make it work. And then we were moving to just down the road, 18 Hutchinson Street. That's where our second shed was.
Yeah.
And so I remember we were due to move into the warehouse on the Friday, and then we was going to do the move on the weekend. And then I was due to like fly back to the UK in like 2 weeks or something. And then I remember driving to the new warehouse, and my brother, he called me And he's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just driving to work. He's like, oh, call me back when you get to work. I was like, all right, cool. So he called me. And then he's like, Mum's basically in hospital. They found a brain tumor. She's got like 3 weeks left to live. And I was just like, my whole world was just like fucking, you know, I just didn't even know what to say, man. I was just like, you know, that's like just my number one person. And so he goes like, I'm flying home tonight. And I was like, bro, I've got like a whole warehouse to build. How am I just going to leave Macro Mike? What do I do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, like a couple of my mates like helped just kit the warehouse out at Hutchinson Street. And then I just sat down with like, I think we had like 5 staff at the time. We had someone who did the orders, someone who helped with production. And I just sat them all down and I said, hey guys, my mom's got cancer. I got to fly back to the UK like on Monday. I don't know when I'm going to be home. I just need you guys to help me. Please help me just keep running Macro Mike. Because, you know, we were building some momentum. Like I had a like responsibility to the customers.
Yeah.
And they were all like, yeah, right. Fuck, like, you know, that's hectic. And then like, so I jumped on a plane on like the Monday or whatever. And I genuinely, and you know, getting back to the UK, you got to fly to like Dubai. It was like, so I was like, flew to Dubai, then it was a layover in Dubai, then it was fly back to Manchester, then I had to get like a train. It was like 36 hours. And I genuinely didn't even know if I was going to make it to see my mom like that. Like, and they couldn't give me anything on the phone. Like, oh, it's just day by day. We don't know what's happening. And then my auntie picked me up from the airport in Manchester. And then we drove to the hospital and she was still alive. And yeah, man, we just like fucking looked at each other and we hugged and both just started hysterically crying. And it was like, and then she lived for 2 weeks, went into hospice, so end of life care. Laura, my wife, she came over. She'd never met my mom. And we had like a couple of really nice days at the hospice, like walking around the garden and stuff. And then, yeah, she passed away. Like, and like pretty much since that day, I've just had this like real, like, you know, I already had really good work ethic and had a purpose and stuff. And just since that day, I've always just like everything I do, and not just in business, like everything I do in my life, like making good decisions and shit has kind of been like, oh, I want to try and make my mom proud. And, you know, I've not always done that. I've done some fucked up shit as everyone has, right? And like, you know, you try and be the best human, but it really made me just like really think about myself as a person and who I wanted to be. But yeah, bro, so to get back to your question and reason I sort of like went down, I think 100% my mom is the person that instilled like work ethic, hard work, you know, hustle mentality.
Moral compass, it sounds as well.
Yeah, man, totally. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy, man. Honestly, thank you for sharing the story, dude. I know
heavy,
right? I could feel a bit of pain coming through with it, man. It's a crazy thing, man, to unpack, dude. So I really appreciate you going deep on it. I think it's man, it's a crazy thing as well, because like when you went back through it, it's funny, literally all those things you kind of rounded it out with then as well. You can see that's where it all comes from as well, you know. And like when you think about it, work ethic combined with a moral compass combined with a creative and an entrepreneurial spirit, you're unstoppable, you know what I mean? There's a reason why you are where you are when all those things sort of combined. And as fucked as like a lot of that stuff is, that trauma is what shapes us as well, right? And sometimes, exactly like you said before, people coming through the cushy, it's not that we have anything against them, but it's a different breed. We're bred different from that side of things, man. And you can see from, dude, you've gone through a lot more than most. And how old were you at the time? What, 20, 25?
25, 26. Yeah, so probably like 26, 27. Yeah.
That's a lot to cop.
So I lose both parents by like 26. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's so much to cop at that age, you know. So it's man, you can tell why you've pushed through so many different things. You have that resilience as well, combined with, again, man, the work ethic and the moral compass. So it's I think, man, a massive testament to what she did for you as well and did with you in that time frame too, man. So totally. I appreciate you sharing the story, man.
For sure, man. Yeah, crazy, just trying to make her proud, bro. Like, you know, every day and just hustling. And then
I think she'd be proud, man.
I reckon so.
I think she'd be proud.
And like for me, you know, growing up with kind of like pretty dysfunctional like family, it kind of has always just made me, you know, like I'm a dad now, like I got Jack, my little boy, and it's just always made me sort of like just want to show up for him and be like the best possible person. And like, 100%. You know, been a business owner, been an entrepreneur, like I got a team like you, I think there's like 40 staff, and like, you know, I'm the only kind of like boss, you know, leader, whatever. Everyone looks to me, everyone communicates to me. It's like, it's tough. And like, I think we're working now so that we know when they get older, they're preset, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's and it doesn't mean you're going to give it to them on a silver platter. I'm going to make sure Jack's an absolute hustler and gets it done. But it's just nice knowing that he's not going to have to go through like all the shit that I went through, and he's going to turn out like a normal kid, and not a dysfunctional entrepreneur like me.
It's funny though, right? Because man, I always see it as like this, all this shit that kind of builds us, man. It's almost like our superpower. You know what I mean? Like this stuff that builds us from that end. And I think it's hard. I actually love your opinion on this because I'm not a father at this point. I want to be at some point as well. But I think it's funny because people say to me, "Oh, like your kids aren't going to turn out like you because you're wealthy and like they didn't, you didn't come from that, and now they will come from a completely different environment." What's your opinion on that? Or like, how do you think you're going to, like, I've got my own little ideas and stuff, but like, what do you think you're going to do to make sure, for one, that they don't turn into that, oh, mum and dad are rich.
Yeah.
I don't need to work hard because I'm not going to have it sort of thing. Like, what do you, I'm just from a curiosity perspective.
No, I think about it a lot. And I think it just comes down to like, first of all, you don't just give them infinite money. That's very much money that's family money or we've earned it. You give him a little bit of a head start. So like for me, like I think with Jack, like whether he wants to go down the uni route or whether he wants to go down like a business route, and I want to put like zero pressure on that decision. Like personally, I think like doing a business degree or a finance degree, like I think that's the one thing I probably wish I had done. I've learned it along the way, but it would have been nice to kind of like know what EBITDA is and net profit and gross profit and all that kind of stuff that you now I feel like I have a business degree just from running a business. But I think
School of Hard Knocks, right?
Literally, University of Life, right? So I think it's kind of like probably, giving them a bit of an allowance or something that they earn through like chores or doing good things. And then kind of like if they do want to start a business, been like, all right, well, here's $1,000. How are you going to turn that into 2,000? If you turn that into 2,000, I'll give you 10,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that they have that hunger and that work ethic. Yeah. Because personally, I think like, and I remember when we used to go up against other big food and bev brands in like national awards and shit. And it was always like, I remember that we'd sit there, me and Laura, and we wouldn't win. And it would always be like the first thing they say is like, oh, thanks to all our investors, we couldn't have done it without you, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's called like the Entrepreneur Awards. And it's like, come on, man. Like, again, nothing against anyone that has investment or anything like that. But, if you Google the definition of entrepreneur, it's like, it's about risk. It's financial risk, right? Without the known outcome of gain.
Yeah.
So if you have investment money, is there really that much risk? No, not really. It's not your balls on the table. It's not your mortgage on the table. It's not your car payments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just about like instilling to them that there's not just this like infinite bank account of money, but giving them good like work ethics so that, if you do give them something and they can show that they can increase it, you're happy to give them more sort of thing. What do you reckon?
I love that, man. Yeah. Dude, I agree completely. I think the way that you put the, I just write a couple of notes as I go through here, like little takeaways as I go through, man, because I love that, dude. I agree completely. And we actually said a very similar thing when we were at the awards earlier this year too, because we both won our individuals, even at the nationals, right?
Totally.
And it's funny, man, because like I'm exactly the same. And like I've never had a partner in terms of business. I've never, other than the bank. So obviously you partner with the bank when you invest in property, which is smart. But other than doing that and taking loans against that, man, I've always self-funded everything I've ever done, and I've always figured shit out myself. Obviously you have coaches, you have different people that help you along the way. But I agree with you completely, man. One thing that also grinds me a little is like when someone will win it and it's like multiple people in it. It's like, hang on, we're talking about entrepreneurs, right? Like entrepreneur, like the one that's doing it themselves. And obviously, I know you obviously got your wife, and I'm sure she's involved in what you do in a big way. But it's a funny thing, man, because like I think for those of us like ourselves who have done it ourselves and have had to hustle that whole way through, we have a very different opinion on it to other people and the way it works. But I think it makes us stronger from that, and also more creative, and we rely more on ourselves. And I think that breeds a lot of creativity in itself and hardship, like toughness with it as well. I think that's the biggest thing, man. Going back to the question I asked you around the kids coming through as well, man, I'm almost exactly the same. Literally, one of the things I always say is like, if a kid wants a car, it's like, okay, no worries. This is the car you want. Sweet. You get half of it. I'll chip in the other half. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to get halfway there for me to, and I'm more than happy to do it. I want you to drive something safe. I don't want you to kill yourself in a shitbox like I grew up with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you got to earn the other half of it. And I think, man, like that is, it will breed that. For one, like it's also a feeling of accomplishment of being able to do it, but then also, okay, sweet. So if I hustle, I get this. That's what I had to do. You know what I mean? And like, so I think there's different ways of doing it and not have to end up in that different path, but then also be able to be guided by us in a certain way too. So yeah, man, I'm completely with you. And I think it's funny when you see people come out of wealthy families and they don't have those. I'm like, unless it was family money to the parents, like, wouldn't you think if you built it, like you need them to understand how to do it as well? So, because man, dude, the world's a fucking hard place, you know what I mean? And like, if you don't breed a bit of toughness into them, they're going to get taken over by someone like us when they're trying to succeed down the road too. So I love that, man. I love you look at it in that same way as well. It's cool.
And it's just how you shape them, right? Like how you put morals into them and, you know, instill good habits. And, you know, I think that the cool thing about like nowadays is, you know, things like obviously property. There's so many outlets out there, and then things like investment piece, you know, like even like Vanguard and stuff like that. It's like, you know, back when I was even 18, it was kind of like, oh, you just put your money in a 3% account, or you can get some kind of ISA or whatever, you know. Whereas like, and you don't really learn that stuff at schools. Like if they taught you, oh, if you put away $100 a week into this, it's going to compound in 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think like if you teach them how money can make more money and really teach them those good values and stuff, they're just going to be set up. And you know, you just try and get them to be a good person. That's the main thing. Like I just want Jack to be a good person, realize that, you know, his mom and dad had to hustle, and also like just make him be an absolute legend. That's that's my whole goal, you know, like, and just make sure he has a good time along the way, and, you know, like has a really good childhood. Like that's kind of what I want.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome, man. I love that, bro. I love that. I'm sure he will be, mate.
He's already a legend, man. He's so funny.
Little champion?
Yeah, bro. He's classic. I just can't wait to like get him into sports and like, you know, get him coming to work. Like I took him to
have you already got him on the proteins or what?
Bro, it's funny, man. I sent you a video. We took him to the warehouse the other day because Laura's brother was over from Canada and her mum came. And we put the hairnet on him because he came into production and he's running. Fuck, it was funny, man. It's classic.
Getting the scoops in.
Yeah,
was he dry scooping like your mate? Where's the water?
He loves it, man. Every morning we put in like Golden Gate time in his little smoothie and stuff. He loves it.
He would love it. Is he like a little Michelin man?
Yeah, he's a monster. Should see his bicep.
Bigger than you.
Yeah,
bigger than me.
Literally.
Oh, mate, that's funny. Yeah, that's how good. Man, pivoting back to Macro Mike. So man, I understand the foundations in terms of what kind of got it to the point where you're just about not even just about to send it. You know, you built the foundations, right? Yeah. What's the next piece that effectively made you send it? Because, man, becoming a household name, it's not just being someone big online, right? Totally. It is getting into your major retailers, your Coles, your Woolies, your things like that. I do IGAs now as well, which is, you know, only closely behind the other two. Man, how did all that come about? What's the next phase in business growth that you've gone through here? Yeah,
so where did we get to? So we got to Mantra Circle. So I was making it in my apartment. Then it sort of started, you know, real small batches, like making kind of 5 at a time. And then it was just these big tubs that probably held like maybe 15 kilos. And I just had like big welder gloves and I just used to literally mix everything.
No way.
It was wild. Bro.
Why didn't you just get like what do they call like the KitchenAid, like a big KitchenAid style thing?
It just kind of didn't really work for like the application. Okay. And then I got like a glorified cement mixer and we was like doing big cement mix batches. Like,
wait. What's a glorified cement mixer?
It was a cement mixer, which I kind of like modified. So it was like,
it was a cement mixer.
It was a cement mixer, but internally it was like kind of like, you know, fully sealed and everything, so I could like sanitize and clean it and shit. But yeah, it was a cement mixer.
Okay. So you didn't buy it secondhand off the brickies down the road?
It was brand new from Bunnings.
Okay.
And then so I mean, you can imagine me, right? Like wheeling the cement mixer in the lift of Mantra Circle on Cavill. And then I used to have some suppliers that would drop off like big bags of like flour and protein and stuff, and they'd literally like pull up to the loading dock in Mantra Circle. I'd get a shopping trolley from Woolies, throw all the powder in, take it up to my apartment, and then just the cupboards were just like full of powder and stuff.
Did people think you're a drug dealer or something? They did.
Well, when I sold the cement mixer, it was an Irish guy, and he's like, "What's going on here? Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing with this big
literally, bro?" And I just said to him, I said, "Mate, you wouldn't even believe it if I told you." And he's like, and then he just kind of drove off. And I think to this day he thinks I was like making like crystal meth or something. Yeah, but that was pretty funny. So went from the apartment, and you know, it was kind of like, I wasn't like a big influencer. We didn't have money to spend on Facebook ads, and Facebook ads wasn't really a thing back then.
How big was the macro? Sorry to interrupt you. How big was the Macro Mike page at that time?
Maybe like 3,000-4,000
Okay,
followers.
so it was tiny.
Nothing crazy.
Because you're like 160, 170 now.
Yeah, man.
It's big, man.
And I was like, posting 3-4 times a day, responding to every DM, responding to every comment. It was just like super slow, like super grind, hustle.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, kind of went to bigger batches, grew it. And then sort of it was kind of like, all right, it was at that point. And then I was like, well, to get it to the next stage, we need like a warehouse or something, right? Yeah. Got to move it out of my apartment because there was just powder everywhere, man. Like it was just wild. And then so anyway, got that little shed, 200 square meter shed, moved in there, like got it all kitted out, had like a little packing room, had like a mix, then we went from a cement mixer to like a V mixer, which holds like 70 kilos. It's just a big V and you load either side and then it just spins and it rotates it. Yeah. So then we were making 70 kilo batches. And so we do like a mixing day, which
and
was
is
like
this purely pancakes?
Nah, this was all brownies, peanut butter. And this was, I think we'd got into protein at that point as well.
Okay.
And so we'd do like a blend day, which was like 14 hours. So it was like exhausting, literally making all.
Or putting the full mix
together.
Yeah,
so basically what we do is we'd line up like 6 batches of say 70 kilos. Yep. So we'd do like a brownie, a blondie, a protein, a peanut butter or whatever.
Yeah.
And then mix it in the V mixer, bulk bag it into like 4 15 kilo bags and just literally write on it like brownie mix or whatever.
Yep.
And then they'd all get stored. So we'd do that on the Monday and then they'd all get stored. And then Tuesday through to Friday, we'd have guys that would come in and pack essentially.
Bag them up.
And it was just, scoop in. It was like big 15 kilo bags, scoop in, opening the bag in, seal, all by hand. Sticking the stickers on the bags, all by hand. We used to label the jars by hand. Like, so we'd put the label, like wild.
These are the little jars that are in like Woolies and stuff, right?
Same ones.
Yeah.
There's a photo of me in my apartment, literally hand labeling 300 jars after I'd been to like a trade show, didn't even have stock and was taking all these orders. Like, and kind of, it was a bit unethical for me because it's not something I did. But at the time I was like, I knew I'd be able to make it happen that week. But I just said to him,
also, dude, when you're at the very start and you push up and you don't know if you're going to get the orders, taking the orders and then you're making them and delivering them after, it's very different to.
I said to them, hey guys, look, I can take the order. You're not going to get it till like next month, but I can take the order. Yeah. And so then I was like in the apartment, just wrapping all the labels. So then we got our site, packed down that, and it was kind of like building the social media, but it was kind of before like Facebook and Instagram ads, and like. I don't know. I just had it in my head, like I just didn't, because every other brand, like, all the other protein brands were like just paying influencers to be like, try this protein. This is the best protein. And I'm just like, ethically, and again, nothing against that. I just didn't want to be this brand that just had like all these people kind of like paid to say Macro Mike is good. Yeah. So I had this kind of like, not ego, but it was like, I just had this, and it probably slowed the business down a little bit, but I just had this block where I was like, nah, like the only people I want like promoting Macro Mike are people that actually love the product. Happy to give them free products, but I'm never going to pay someone to say, hey, sell this, because I didn't want it to be like fake. Yeah. And so like that journey meant that the products kind of like had to be really good. And the products got better and better and better as we went on. We like refined them. Like our brownie mix now that's in Coles, it's been through like 7 revisions. Yeah, and now like you could try it and you're like, wow, that tastes legit like a brownie. Right. Doesn't taste gluten-free, doesn't taste dairy-free. It just tastes nice. And so
I'm gonna have to try this brownie.
It's
I'm gonna
good.
try the brownie mix.
Yeah, man, really good.
Before we release this potty, I'm gonna do it and then I'm gonna release it as we eat it and then promote the potty at the same time.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, and even the mug
we'll cook it up
cakes
together,
stuff.
bro. We'll cook a batch up.
Keen. You let me know. I'm there.
Let's do it
in the defenders.
That's it.
But yeah, man. So it was kind of like, it was pretty slow. It was kind of like organically growing on social media. We were just getting, like the orders were just really slowly progressing, but nothing crazy, no like big influencers posting it. It was just kind of like growing it. And then it was kind of like we were just also scaling production because it was like I'd never run production before. I didn't know how it worked. Yeah. And so it was kind of like we had this crossroads where we were like, then we sort of started to explore like distributors. So we were going direct to consumer online. Yep. And I always just wanted to be an online brand. But then we had like a distributor kind of hit us up like, hey, we can get your product out there quicker, like, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. So we went through this distributor route, but we couldn't make enough product to sell online and get to the distributor. So we had to engage like a contract manufacturer, which is somebody that would essentially blend products for you. So you take them, you formula and you blend it. And so agreed, like, went back and forward. Hey, here's the price. Here's the recipe. Can you make it? Had about maybe $50,000 in the bank account. And so had all these POs from this distributor that was mad keen and obviously needed stock for online. Couldn't make enough product doing what we're doing, 70 kilo batches. It was just not, there wasn't enough hours in the day.
Yeah, you make enough.
Couldn't scale it. So then engaged this contract manufacturer. And I think what happened was the product went straight from the manufacturer to the distributor. And
so there's no quality check in the middle.
In hindsight, not my smartest move. And what the contract manufacturer had done, and I won't name names, but they had like when you make a product, you squeeze the air out of it, right? It's like 101. It's just if you put anything in a Ziploc bag, you don't just make it a balloon, you know what I mean? So they'd literally just not squeezed any of the air out of the bags, sealed the top, but it was like a balloon. And then they just put all the bags in a box. So there's like 18 kilos in a box. So the boxes went straight from the manufacturer to the distributor. I remember getting a call from the distributor. And I think the boxes had then gone straight from the distributor to the stores because they just sold them in cartons. So by the time the boxes had kind of been through the freight, dropped on the floor, blah, 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 blah.
It all exploded.
Man, every box was just powder in a bag.
Fuck.
$50,000 worth of powder. And so the distributor was like, oh, well, we're going to credit all our wholesalers. We're just not going to pay you. And I was like, just didn't even know what to do. So I was like, almost, that was almost it, bro. Almost just like threw the towel in. And then so managed to, because we were doing a lot of volume from the e-commerce store, PayPal was like one of our biggest payment gateways. And I was on a student visa, so I couldn't even get a loan from the bank because my visa status and shit, that's another story. I was on a student visa. And then, so PayPal were like, it popped up one day in the PayPal account saying, working capital loan available, 30 grand. Yeah. And I was like, oh, sick. How's that work? So I clicked on it and it said, we will take 30% of your sales until this is paid off. And you just pay like a 5% fee on top of the 30 grand. I was like, boom, done. Took the money out and then basically, I don't know, said no to the distributor for a little bit, whatever. That was a bit of a crazy story. And then just went back to kind of making it for the online. Yeah. And then...
Sorry, can I ask this real quick?
Yeah.
Like, what about the manufacturer?
Man, they just made every excuse under the sun, bro.
Kidding.
So we managed to get some bags back and repack them.
Yeah.
But some of them was so bad, it was just boxes of powder. But yeah, emails and emails back and forth with this manufacturer. And they're like, oh, nah, it's your bags were the fault. Like, and I was like, guys, come on, man. Like, it was just amateur hour.
Yeah.
So anyway, at that point.
Amateur hour.
Amateur hour, man. Like, it was so bad. And then at that point, I just said, all right, we're going to just always manufacture our own shit.
Yeah.
And so then started to scale. I was like, I'm just going to bite the bullet and buy like a production line from China. So went on Alibaba, found like something that looked like it would work for our powder. And I was like, yep, cool. This looks pretty good. Sent them a message. Hey guys, can you make this? They were like, yep, cool. I just said, look, I don't really have any money, but if you can make it, I'll pay you 10% now. And then I'll pay you like the rest before it gets delivered. So they made it. Then I flew out to China just to like check it all worked and stuff. And then basically, set up the production line. And that went from doing 70 kilo batches to 400 kilo batches. Whoa. Yeah.
That's huge.
So, and then that was around the similar time to us moving from the smaller shed to the bigger shed. So then we kind of just like, it was went from being like really manual to kind of being like semi-automatic. Yep. And they had like fillers. So it would just dump in like kilos. Yeah. So not only did we have bigger like capacity, 400 kilos, we could get way more throughput because it wasn't by hand. So that was like the next step in the journey. But then, I don't know, we ended up going back down another distro route. They like bought a bunch of stock and then they just weren't paying invoices. We was like 120 days overdue. They owed us like all this money. So there was probably like 3 or 4 times in the first 2 or 3 years where like I genuinely was just going to like can it because it was just way too hard.
Yeah.
I didn't have any money, down to the last dollar in the bank, like, credit cards, like PayPal loans. It was just, it was pretty wild. So, and then to answer your question, so like what was kind of the pivotal turning point? So I think the brownies and the blondies and the peanut butters and all those kind of like niche-y style products were like, okay. But once we launched the protein, like the peanut butter protein, it was kind of like with protein, when you have protein, you always have protein. Whereas if you just make some brownies, you have them in a cupboard, you make them. Whereas protein's like a habitual purchase.
Especially if you enjoy something. You enjoy something, you always get it again.
Yeah. And then we started doing I went back into the community doing all the IMBA shows, little pop-up stores and stuff. Then we started doing all the fitness expos, like it was like the Arnold's. We did like the FitX.
Yeah, right.
And they were massive, right? So we had like a stand and it was just really good brand awareness. But I think the protein was like the one product. And because it was legit, man, like, I mean, it is legit, but even back then it's a different formula, but it was so legit compared to, you know, the big players were like Prana, Amazonia, Tropica, like that was kind of in the vegan space, all using pea and rice protein. So it's all the same.
Yeah.
Whereas we were using peanut protein, so smooth, so creamy, so good in smoothies, tastes like peanut butter, pretty cheap to make. You know, our margins on that were so good. So then pretty much ran with that for like a year. And because we was turning over like so much volume, we started to really get some good money in the bank. And that was the first time where I was like, all right, cool. Like we're out of trouble a bit now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was the product development piece from taking the products that were like good for people that were like gluten-free and dairy-free, but then making them more mainstream so that everybody could have them. That was probably like the biggest pivotal point for us. And then, then we started running like Facebook ads, Google ads, had a big like ambassador squad, again, not paid, but like, trading.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably the turning point, I reckon.
That's
like
cool, man.
The protein.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense as well, right? Because like the brownies and the peanut butter and stuff, like it makes sense. Peanut butter, like obviously they're adding into other shit. They're not using that purely by itself.
Yeah.
And then the brownies, man, it's like it's an occasion, or you throw them in there and I'll cook them up once a month or something like that at best. But then you get the proteins. Exactly what you said, man. When you find, especially if you find something that you love. You have it all the time. You know what I mean? You just have it all the time until, sometimes something will, you try something or you run out of it and get something else, whatever. But so that's your repeatable product. And if someone loves it as well, they always talk about it. I think that's one of the biggest things too. So,
yeah, word of mouth was like massive too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's mad. Dude, I've even found, like this is just on a side note, even with yours compared to a lot of the others, dude, I don't get bloated after as well, right? And I've never been one even to think about lactose and dairy, whatever.
And that's the thing, bro. You know what? Like, so that's really, it's a really good point. So like, I think it's like 65% of the population is some form of lactose intolerant, right?
Interesting.
Which is like, if there's, 3 people in the room, it's like 2 of you. So, but what we found is because we've just like basically had so much dairy in our diets, we've kind of like become tolerant to the intolerant.
Interesting.
And to the intolerance. And it's not until you actually like remove the dairy that your gut's like, oh, wow. And then you start to be like, whoa, I feel so much better because you've just got so used to being bloated. It's the norm, right?
100%.
So you don't even think about it. So in 20, like, what are we now? 24, but in the last 5 years, it's not just that everybody all of a sudden has become gluten and dairy intolerant. It's just that people are now talking about it and people are doing things for their diet, like removing gluten and dairy or doing FODMAP diets or whatever. And they're finally like, oh yeah, I feel way better. So they tell their other friend that like has dairy, oh, you should go off dairy or you should try macro protein. But also in all the other proteins, there's just so much like shit, bro. Like, and not bagging out any other protein companies, everyone's hustling, everyone's doing their thing. And not all of them, but there's just so many like fillers, just so much crap, bro.
Yeah.
And most of them, like what they say on the tin is not what's in the tin. So, there's
interesting.
It's a dark industry. Yeah.
There was actually, I remember it was somewhere, it was a while before I even found your stuff as well. I can't remember the actual name of it, but they were bodging up their actual content and stuff. And man, I was on carnivore at the time, and I was just having it for morning, like just to have it in the morning, and it was super low carb, right? It was almost virtually zero carb. And then like the dude told me, I go, oh, where's the stuff? Because I came in to get it because it tasted mad. He goes, oh man, it's full of shit. It had like 10 grams of carbs. So I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I'm managing everything else so closely. I'm thinking this thing's sweet, and then it's a load of shit. You know what I mean? So,
and even like so the food standards in Australia, there's like between a 10 and 20% tolerance, right? Of like, so say something is 100 grams.
Really?
Yeah. So if something's say 100 grams of protein, just easy maths, that could technically be 80 or 120. So, and also like if you say reported that protein and said, hey, I don't reckon there's zero carb in this. Yeah. And then it got tested by whoever tests it, and it was within that 20% tolerance. They won't even do anything about it. So what most protein companies, and probably doesn't happen as much now, but back at the start, because it was really common knowledge, they would just say there's 25 grams of protein in a serve, add 20% on, or 19%, because they know, and like the food standards or whatever that are testing it haven't really figured out that it would be like commercially beneficial for a business to have 20% more protein in it. So they would test it and be like, oh yeah, it's 19%, it's sweet. Don't worry about it, it's all good, it's within the limit. Yeah. So they would basically just go from 25 grams of protein to 30 and there's only 25 in it, and if that. So it's a whole fugazi, man. And the amount of stuff that gets pulled off the shelf for like, it has dairy in it. It's not meant to.
It's my favorite word at the moment.
Fugazi. It's cool, eh? Like, I know.
Calling bullshit on things.
Literally, man. And like heaps of the plant proteins in the market. Again, won't name names, but heaps of the big players have been recalled because they've had dairy in them. They're not vegan. So our entire facility is gluten-free and dairy-free. We don't blend anything.
Interesting.
Not. Yeah.
You know what's interesting, bro? I got two things to say about this. I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but the first thing is, man, with what you're saying there with like dairy in Australia, man, I think it's like this thing as a kid in Australia. I grew up on a farm, so maybe it's different with how I grew up. But man, I remember like you have your Wheat Bix and you have your milk on your Wheat Bix or your Nutrigrain, whatever it is, and then you have to drink another glass of milk to build your strong bones. You know what I mean? And like, I've broken a lot of bones in my life, but these days I haven't broken. I've had a few pretty big prangs and different things and all the rest of it. I don't know if it worked that well, but like, man, it was almost like when you're young, especially in Australia,
into you,
dude, to smash it, because we're a beef, we're a cattle bloody country, man, like beef and milk. Yeah. So, man, like it's so funny that it's just so ingrained into us from that perspective. But the other point I want to bring up, and this isn't even really just like a plug for yourself. This is literally like what I've probably experienced over the last probably like 2 months. Is when I was on carnivore, pre-carnivore, I'd have a coffee and I'd have my protein shake in the morning every day after gym. So I finished gym, I smashed a protein shake, have my coffee. When I went on to carnivore, obviously I couldn't have that, right? So I had to sort of change it up. And I started having ice long blacks, and I'd have my ice long black after I'd have, and especially this is when I started having your protein. And what I found, man, was carnivore, for one, I trim up and I lose a lot. Low carbs, right? Whatever. But then like you virtually zero carbs, so you cut a lot of carb weight. When I came off carnivore, I went back to a normal diet, but I stopped. I didn't go back to my coffee and my normal proteins in the morning. I stayed with dude, I love the Golden Gate. I'm not kidding. Like I smash that every morning, right? So I have my Gatorade protein with my ice long black every morning. So I'm not having that milk first thing in the morning. Dude, I was sitting at 106 before I cut. And I'm a bigger fella. I train a lot and I fucking eat a lot. And so I was a big unit. I cut down to 98, 99 on carnivore. I have not shifted from that. I've been off carnivore for like 6 weeks. So you've managed
to like maintain it. Whereas normally you would kind of yo-yo, right? Dude,
I fucking go straight back up. Like as soon as I come off, within a week, I'll be back at 105.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And in a way, it's probably like a little bit of intermittent fasting thrown in there. But I was still doing that before. But all it was that the milk that we're talking about that I'm probably intolerant to.
Totally.
And then having whey protein too. So, man, having that mix, and to me, it's not that much of a difference. I'm used to drinking ice long blacks now because when I'm on carnivore, it's the only thing that I can drink. So I'm used to drinking it now anyway. After a month of drinking, you get used to it. It's not that bad. But then having that as well, man, like I can't believe that I'm still sitting at this weight because it's never happened before. Literally, it's never happened before. All I can put it down to is what I'm having in the morning, which is no sacrifice because
it still tastes like milk too, right? The almond protein is so creamy.
100%, man. 100%. So it's crazy, man. Like, and again, it's not a plug. This is literally just exactly what I've literally experienced, man. And I don't think I'll change it because I don't like being super swollen, being huge. Dude, I'm 5'11", 106 kilos is too fucking heavy, right? So even 100 is probably too heavy. But sitting around that or slightly under that, for me, I feel good. I've got mad energy and like I don't feel bloated. I hate feeling bloated. You know what I mean? So I hate being bloated. So it's cool, man. It was cool to kind of like see that because you don't know unless you split test stuff, you know. And sometimes when you do it, you sort of get this result. So just a testament to you, man. That it's cool. I understand, now kind of seeing where I'm at, nearly 2 months on from being off it. Being off the carnivore, I'm still sitting like this. It's really cool, man. So
and I love it too.
To a mad product.
Thanks, bro. No, I really appreciate that, and glad it's been good for you. But yeah, it's like, and you hit the nail on the head with the dairy piece. It's like it was just kind of engraved that you just drink milk, and at school we just drank milk, and I think probably what happened too with this sudden dairy intolerance was like the milk. It's not necessarily like milk, so to speak. Like everyone can kind of tolerate that. But it's when you throw in all these like other skim milk powders and all these like additives that now is in all the food and drinks and stuff. And, milk's kind of not even like milk like it used to be.
Yeah, of course.
So, it's all this like processed dairy that's really hard to like digest essentially. So So yeah, a lot of the like organic like advertising and stuff that I was posting on like socials at the start was all about like gut health and kind of like just educating people around, hey, look, this is kind of what happens when you drink dairy. You've got a certain amount of like, dairy enzymes that will break it down. If you have too much dairy, you run out, just to make it real simple, like in layman terms. And then I was like, try swap your whey protein for like this peanut protein and see how it goes. And a lot of people found exactly like what you said, less bloated, feel better, taste good, helps them stay fuller as well. And so it's cool.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You know what I love, dude, is like, this was born off you not being able to find a product that matched what you wanted when you were a bodybuilder in your early mid-20s, right? And so you've created this product that served a purpose for you, which then, served a purpose for a lot of other people. A lot of people enjoyed it. And then you've grown this into this fucking mammoth that it is now. And I think like what I take away from that, dude, even from an entrepreneurial sort of perspective, is like when there's something that you're passionate about, it's the same as me with property, right? I was a low income and a high school dropout.
Yep.
Was really good at property, just became good at property because I could hustle, I could force value, I could negotiate, similar, same sort of background as you with that side of things. And I love that, man, as an asset class. And then I did really, really well out of it. And then I turned it into what I do now. And because I'm so passionate about it, it doesn't feel like work.
Yep.
Like obviously we work our fucking asses off. It is what it is. But I love what I do for work. If I'd stayed working at the farm on the feed mill, I fucking hated it. You know what I mean? It was a slog every day, sweating my guts out. It just wasn't enjoyable, right? But doing this, what I do now, and like you doing what you do now, with something that you're actually passionate about and a product that you actually use. It's so funny, man, because it's if it's something that you're not passionate about, you'll never be able to build it into an absolute beast. Because money's money. You know what I mean? I could have stopped years ago. You probably the same thing. You probably could have put it on autopilot, not trying to create new amazing products and all the rest of the thing. But like at the end of the day, if you didn't love it and you didn't want to keep improving all the rest of the sort of stuff, you wouldn't bother because the money, you're making enough out of it as it is. So I think it's cool, man, to unpack it. And I've seen it with anyone else. A lot of other people that are really successful in business as well, they're fucking passionate about what it is. And typically because they've had a great experience or they needed to create that product or whatever, has born that into them to then go and do it as well. So it's sick, man, like seeing, and it makes so much sense, like especially why you're still continually improving it and all the rest of it as well. So it's sick, man. I love it.
Yes, so true, bro. And, I think, like you'd be the same, bro. So, so many people ask you like, I want to start a business. What do you suggest? They're like, what's the tips? And the number one thing I say is like, if you're not going to be passionate about that thing that you are selling or service that you're selling in 5 years, if there's no money coming in, then don't even bother starting. Because it's like money, like, the money's not going to come instantly. There's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be a journey around it. And it's like, you've got to do something that's bigger than just money. Otherwise, like when you're tired and you're over it and you've had a, big week and you're kind of like really trying to dig deep, it's like money doesn't make you happy. So it's like, you've got to have bigger than money purpose. So that's the number one thing I say to like, people that are looking to start business, entrepreneurs, stuff like that. It's like, you've got to like be able to be passionate about this if there was no money coming in. And then if you say, you know what, like I reckon I could give this a crack for 5 years, because you're probably the same as me. Like I didn't think Macro Mike would still be going 8 to 10 years. It was like, it's crazy, right? But I'm still as passionate about Macro Mike now than I was 10 years ago. Like I love it. Yeah, it's work, and some days I hate it, and some days I want to just get in a hole and be a Christmas pudding. But like, I love it, man. Like, I love going to like trade shows. I'll be like front of house in the trade shows, talking to customers. Like, I love the feedback you give me. Like when we were at the awards night and you were like, shout out to Magic Mike. Like it just makes it all worthwhile.
100%, man.
So yeah.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. Man, it's funny. I actually reckon I'm more passionate about it now than I was when I started. And I loved it when I started it. And I probably needed to do it. I did need to do it more back then than I need to do it now. But I love it, man. You know what I mean? It's like, it's. I think it's the thing as well. The more you do it, the better you get at it, especially if it's something you already love. And then the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And the better you get at it, the more you're going to fucking love it, and better the product's going to be as well. So it's, it's cool, man. But it's funny, exactly what you said there. If you don't love it, you're not going to get through the first 1, 2, 3, 5 hard years, because they're going to be hard, man.
Literally.
They're going to be hard.
And they get harder, right?
Yeah.
The bills get bigger, the money coming in gets bigger, money going out goes bigger, the team gets bigger.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know it, man.
That's it, man.
It's just wild.
That's it, bro. I love it. Man, you've gone through this mad phase of all this scaling and everything. How did you get into the mainstreams? Like into your, it was Coles was the first big one, yeah? They gave you the shot.
So funny story. So I used to have a good friend at the gym who was Tony, who was manager at Woolies in Robina.
Okay.
Because I used to train at EMF in Robina.
Yeah.
And he kind of like connected with like a local, it was called like a local sourcing manager. So what they do is they try and find like local products, and instead of going like nationwide in the supermarket, they'll give you like 25 stores and say, look, you've got 25 stores. It's up to you to like merchandise them. You got to have someone like putting the stock on the shelf. Like it's very manual.
Oh, really?
And you just give it a crack. And then if it sells some units, they kind of like decide, we'll put it into planogram nationwide or not. So we gave that a crack. And it was kind of like, and man, we had some mad displays. Like Robina had like full bays. It was sick, and big like macro Mike cardboard.
Did you have like
cutouts
I was gonna say
bro. It was mad, bro. It was sick. So we had like our wholesale account manager Viv. She was like just hustling, like stacking the shelves, going around all the Woolies and stuff. And this was back like, what was this? Like maybe 6 years ago, and it was kind of before Woolies got real trendy with like health foods and supplements and that.
Yeah.
And
they
so
almost have like full aisles of it now.
Now it's like a supplement store, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But like 6 years ago, it was kind of like, and gluten-free, dairy-free, macro protein. It was kind of like we were just probably a little bit too early.
Yeah.
So we did like 3 months in Woolies. Sales were pretty decent. I was sending all my friends and family out, just buy it. I'll give you the money back. Just trying to like, get the sales going.
100%.
And then it was just such a manual process. So I was emailing them, hey guys, how are we going? Can we get planogram? Can we do? They're like, oh, we're still thinking about it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Got to like 6 months in, and I emailed them again, and I was like, hey guys, look, you just got to give me a yes or no. And they're like, oh, probably not for this range review, but you can try again in 12 months. And at that point, I was just like, oh man, you guys are cool. So I basically just said, all good guys, thanks for the opportunity. Pulled out of Woolies, which was a big decision because it was, everyone thinks you made it when you're on a supermarket shelf, right? Sure. Like everyone thinks you made it. It's funny, but the only people that made it is supermarkets. They've been making so much money. But so pulled out of Woolies, and then no word of a lie, a week later, Coles emailed me.
This is Mr. Cole himself.
Mr. Coles himself, okay. Yeah. Coles emailed me. Hey Mike, we've seen your products. We want to give you a crack in Coles.
Wow.
Do you want to try like a local? And I was like, I just straight said to him, guys, look, we've just been through this process with Woolies.
Yeah.
I'll only go into Coles if you give us nationwide planogram. And they were like, yeah, all right, done.
No way.
So it was kind of like
big dick move, right?
Man, big dick move. Yeah, I was just like, whatever. I'm just gonna YOLO it. So I just kind of was like, all right, just play.
Call it IGA next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what can you give us? But yeah, so I just kind of was like, played Woolies off against Coles. And then we went into Coles, and yeah, man, like we've been in Coles ever since. Like, it's up and down, and like they've added SKUs, they've taken SKUs away. It's very promo driven. So it's like the issue with going into supermarket is they make you commit to like 20 and 50% off promos multiple times a year, and they make you fund that. So like the issue is with when you've got like a habitual purchase, like a macromike protein, and you've got customers that purchase it a lot, they will like essentially just wait for it to be on sale. And so we obviously make really good margin when it's full price, but as soon as it's 20%, 50% off, we make next to nothing.
Okay.
And what happens is the sales start a bit balanced between promo period and non-promo period. And now it's like 90% promo period.
Yeah, because they're waiting for it, right?
Literally. And as if you wouldn't,
yeah,
right?
that's what I was about to say. Literally, to be dead honest with you, when I go through, and it's not for yours, so I buy yours direct from the site, but like when I go through, when you go through a supermarket and you're buying something, you're like, oh, it's on sale, I'll grab it next week. I'll grab it next week in the next 2 weeks when it's on sale. And when it's on sale, you fucking buy heaps of it.
Literally.
Yeah.
Clear the shelf.
Interesting.
And so like, we've kind of found that it's been a bit like, the margins that we make in Coles has kind of gone like down and down and down. But we just use it as a brand awareness piece, new 100%. Customer acquisition.
Brother, that's how I knew you as well. That's how I knew you for, I've known you for almost probably since you've been around. Or like since especially since you've been on shelves with the peanut butter, like the The mix, right? The mix, the flavored mix. Yeah, man, I've known you guys ever since then because everyone did, man. Everyone always talked about adding into things. So it's from a brand awareness perspective, it's mad. But you're telling listeners if they're going to buy it, go jump on Macro Mike website.
Yeah, jump on the website. Give us a bit more margin. We'll give you heaps of freebies. We'll give you some love. You're supporting all the team, you know.
Bro, on that note, when I ordered your shit, I got this mad. Like it was like a
protein ball.
Yeah, man. But the fairy bread or something. Well, party bread or whatever.
Like birthday cake.
Birthday cake, man. That was unbelievable.
Yeah,
it was so good. I woke up one morning. I was going to gym and I was starving. I was like, I need to eat something. I was like, I've got this thing, and I smashed it. And I was like, man, I had to order some more. It was hectic.
We've actually got a new one coming in Jan. It's like white chocolate coated with like a protein custard noodle, all dairy free or gluten free.
No way.
So you'll love it. If you love that one, this is like that on steroids.
I've got to go to the warehouses, try a bit of everything.
Yeah, man, you should come down. But yeah, so like, we've got a real good balance between, we're probably like 70% online. We're probably like 10% supermarket, maybe another like 15% wholesale. And then we also do like contract manufacturing for other brands as well. So we've tried to like keep the sales channels like super diversified.
Yeah.
Just because, sometimes online will be good. Other times you need, like December, for example, it's like the quietest month for health foods because everyone's like Christmas no one wants to
everyone's holiday season. They're not trying to cut.
So for us, what we do is with Coles, we have our Coles promos, our 50% off promos like in December and January. So what that means is Coles like order, probably 50 pallets in December.
Yeah.
So our revenue for December might go from being 70% online to like 70% supermarket.
Interesting.
So it kind of supplements the difference, if that makes sense.
The balance bounces the scales a little bit.
And then, so, in Coles, but then also in like, IGAs, like independent grocer and like, the supplement stores, all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah,
but
100%.
Online's where to grab it,
Yeah.
Support the locals.
Support local guys. Don't support big business.
That's it.
That's awesome, man. I love that, bro. I love it. It's a cool story, even the fact of like Woolies kind of gave you the first shot, and they didn't follow through on it. And then Coles, Mr. Cole himself,
Woolies is probably going to email us soon just saying, hey, we're sorry. But
after they listen to this podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, after they listen, they're like,
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. Bro, it's a crazy story. Something I want to kind of move on to next as well is the team. So, man, I know when we were at the GC Awards, bro, you had this match. Do you have one or two tables?
Two tables.
Two tables, man, and they went crazy, man. They were going crazy when you won. I heard of all of them laughing at me when I called you Magic Mike.
Everyone was loving it.
Man, talk to me about that. Like, you're bringing two teams to an awards night. You don't do that unless you love your team and unless you're close and there's a close fit. You know what I mean? So, I'd love to know like your opinions and like your thoughts around kind of team and culture and how important that is to you and to Macro Mike.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I always say like my big piece around team is like, there's only one of me, right? And I can only work X amount of hours per day. And then there's another 40 staff that all then have another 8 hours of their days. And it's like, I think the team is how you get the bulk of the work done, right? Like you as an entrepreneur, CEO, manager, whatever you want to call it, you can obviously orchestrate and get everyone, like motivated and set strategy and kind of be like, hey guys, this is where we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
And, we use like a rocket ship as our like company vehicle and all our like values in the office are like printed on little rocket ships around. And it's always just been like, there's only a certain amount of, like rocket ship for two reasons. Obviously it's going to space. So you can't get anywhere further than going to space. So it's like shoot high, but then also like, there's only a certain amount of seats on a rocket ship.
Yeah, right.
And I've been pretty brutal with people in the past that like, that aren't on the team or aren't like, playing the right way as staff. And I just have that conversation. I'm like, look, we've only got a certain amount of seats on this rocket ship and maybe it's just not for you. Do you know what I mean? So we've got some amazing team members, but we've also like been through a lot of team members over the years. And I'm sure you have. And it's, it's probably the hardest part of business is like finding good people, but also like retaining good people, keeping it fresh. Because at the end of the day, you can love a business, but everybody wants to do something different, career progression.
Especially younger gen as well.
So we've got like a really fresh young team, a lot of people that were like their first or second job. And, also like at the start, we just didn't have money to buy talent.
Yeah.
So it's like, a lot of the team is pretty young and pretty green and now they're very experienced and they've been, a lot of them have been running for a long time. But yeah, man, the team is 110% of, there's only so much you can do, right?
There's only so many hours in a day that we can do what we do. It's ultimately, you need an epic team and a great team to be able to execute on that level too.
And like when we moved to Harley, which is our new site, 2,000 square meters. So when we were at Hutchinson Street, we had 18 Hutchinson Street, we had 16, we had 15, and then we had 5 over the road. So there was 4 different sites. Yeah. And then we had all different offices and warehouses, and it kind of became like, not intentionally, but like, it was like these little rival offices trying to outdo each other. Oh, really? Not intentionally, but I think just human nature. Yeah. And then when we consolidated everything to Harley, and we kind of trimmed a bit of fat, we just had to get rid of some staff that kind of weren't really on the same page as where we were trying to get to. We just kind of like had this real sense of like, everybody was really proud to come to work. Like the site's sick. You walk in, there's like all our awards, all our products. There's like every single SKU we've ever like launched. There's the Titans shirts where we sponsored the Titans for like 2 years with the logo on the sleeve.
Yeah, that's sick. The little rocket ships with the little macro
rocket ships rocket ships everywhere. There's like a plaque of the original bags with like the story behind on the wall. And then it's big open like office space. So it's kind of like, and then we've got a massive warehouse production site. It's just so clean, so crispy, everything just looks legit. Yeah. So I feel like at that point it was kind of like, now it's a lot easier to get people to buy into it because they come for an interview and they're like, fuck, this is cool. Whereas when we took them into the dungeon at Hutchinson Street, they're like, oh man, what? And like, it's funny because
so when I brought you in the door slam, I was like, fuck, this is dungeon vibes right now.
But yeah, so like,
sorry, bro, I'm taking you back.
No, it's good, bro. I love it. Talk about it later. But yeah, so like with one of our guys, Mark, who's our old production manager, like he came on at our very first warehouse, like Flynn Court, and he was working for like a pretty big supplement company at the time, but just like spinning the wheels, not really getting anywhere. And he's retired now, and he's such a great bloke. But he came literally into like this horrendous garage. There's me sat there, just like 26-year-old. He's older. He was like 55, worked in food production his whole life, and I'm just there like, hey bro, this is it now, but this is where I want to get it to. Yeah. And he fully believed me and stayed with us that whole journey.
No way.
And for him to see like Harley before he retired and just see like and same with a couple of other staff that we've had from the OG from the start, it was just really cool to like see that they'd kind of like bought into me as an entrepreneur rather than like the business before it was kind of what it was. But yeah, to answer your question, like the team piece, obviously so important, but keeping the culture is so important, making it a nice place to work. And also like just trying to keep new and exciting. And, the entrepreneur awards are great because it's like exciting, celebrate. We 100%. Had a big Christmas party, like I'm sure you guys did. And it's all about the barbecue chat, right? It's like, it's what your staff members talk to at their family barbecues about work. So, like, oh, we went to the awards night, or we went to a Titans game and we had a box, like, like the products are in Coles, blah, 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 blah. It's like,
it's a bit of status associated with the brand that they get.
That they're proud to tell their family where they work and stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the big thing, I feel like.
That's awesome, man. I love that, I think it's so important to have buy-in, and like we have I've been through a lot from a hiring process and a firing process as well, right? And I think if you've been in business long enough and you get it to a big enough point, you're going to go through a lot of it, and it's a headache, man. And it's like it can be really painful, and a lot of the time it can be stressful as well. But I think the learnings you get around it can be really important for obviously as you get further along, because the bigger you are, the further along you get, the bigger you are as well. The more important each hire is, because there's a lot more brand risk of hiring the wrong person. But yeah, man, I think it's all part of the game. It's all part of the game. The learnings I've gotten from it have just made it get better and better. We got a very clear, as no dickhead policy. So anyone comes with a bit of a dickhead vibe, it's like they don't even get through to me. They know. They won't even get through to me for an interview because they know if there's a bit of a dickhead vibe, like don't even bring it in, because it's just, man, one bad apple will ruin a whole bag.
100%. Yeah. And we've had that. We've had periods where like we had like a bad apple, and then we've had to like rehire almost a whole department. And people are really good at faking it, right? Like they put a face on for 6 months, and then you just like, who is this person? And then it's crazy. So
and you got to take him out in the Mini Cooper out into the bush, and
literally put him in the back of the Defender.
That's it. Shovel alongside the shovel. You know what you're in here for, buddy. Your time's done. Oh mate. Man, talk to me about brand differentiation. So like, over time, like to become who you are compared to everyone else. And the funny thing is, man, like, right, there's a few proteins around that have been around for a long time. And most of them are like the big names, like your Musashis and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, but to get someone that's a smaller, let's be honest, like especially started in a fucking, not even in a garage, you started in an apartment, cement mixer, all this sort of shit, to then have built from that into what everyone knows now as Macro Mike. Brand differentiation even now. I know we ran through a few things before about even quality and the moral compass side of not taking orders when you can't deliver, all that sort of thing. What do you still think is like brand differentiation between yourself and every other player out there?
Yeah, it's product. So because, and reason being, so like 9 out of 10 brands will just pay influencers to say, hey, this tastes good. Yeah. And especially through COVID, we saw a lot of, and we also saw a lot of influencers start brands. Yep. With 400, 500,000 followers, like it's pretty easy to 100%. Launch a product versus, Macro Mike in his apartment doing everything, and it is what it is. But
capture audience immediately.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
And the thing is with what happened through COVID was a lot of these brands blew up because they kind of duped like customers into purchasing one time. Yep. But what Macro Mike is different, and although we were a bit slower and it's taken longer to grow, and our bamboo tree has probably taken more like 7 years to really like sprout. It's kind of like we have like a massive return customer rate. It can be anywhere from 50 to 80%. Yeah, wow. Like, so it's like 1 in 2 orders coming in every day is like it's a return, right? Yeah. Returning person who wants to buy
1 out of every 2 orders. So 50% of all orders minimum is returning client. Yeah, that's sick.
Whereas like
that's unbelievable, right? That's what you want.
It means you got a good product.
100%.
Right? And so like whereas like every other and you come into like marketing and cost of acquisition, like it's more expensive than it's ever been to buy customers. Every brand's, Muscle Nation, LSKE, all these mammoths spending so much money on marketing. So it's like, I think the biggest difference for Macro Mike is like, and it stems from like me, like I love product development and MPD, and I'll sign off on every single product and it will go through like heaps of iterations. And, like we'll even like give it to like a bunch of customers and say, hey, what do you think to this? Give us feedback, or we'll send it for like, independent opinions. Yeah. And I think it just comes down to products, man. It's like, and we know because we even make products for our competitors, and they'll bring us a product and we just can't even believe how bad it tastes, and they're selling it.
Really?
And they have all these influencers that have hundreds of thousands of followers that are saying how good it is. And I'm just like,
I know Morgs always gets stuck into that. So my part, she'll order them and she'll get it. And I'm like, that is, and she's
just
like,
got gypped, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. So many times as well.
Literally. Yeah. But that's the difference, right? It's like, they'll gyp you once, but you're not going to buy it twice.
You're never going to go again.
And that's why Macro Mike is different, right? And like, we know we're never going to be a Musashi or a BSC, or because we're still niche, right? We're still dairy free. We're still gluten free. And also like, and again, nothing against Musashi, BSC, great brands, but it's just mainstream products, like their protein bars are just like, it's just like a chocolate bar with protein in it.
Yeah, 100%.
So we're very like targeted to making sure that we have like good quality ingredients, gut friendly, gluten free, dairy free. And also a lot of our products are expensive. So it means that like, you take our almond protein. If you look at every other vegan protein on the market, it's made with pea and rice protein, right? Yeah. Or just pea and something. Pea and rice probably costs $8 a kilo, like just the actual raw ingredient. Almond protein's like 24.
Yeah, right.
So it's 3 times as expensive. Yeah. So for us, we got to wear those extra margins, right?
Of course.
And it didn't really make sense for us to launch the almond protein, but the issue was with us having peanut protein. Everything tasted like peanut butter, which is fine if you love peanut butter, but if you don't,
not everyone loves peanut butter.
No one's going to have Macro Mike. And we've never like gone down the route of just copying and doing a pea and rice protein, because it's like, I don't want to be like everyone else. I want to be different.
Yeah, for sure.
So when we launched the almond protein, like commercially, it didn't really make sense, because it's like, well, it's 3 times as expensive to make.
Yeah.
But when people tried it, like the Golden Gate, like we could have never done Golden Gate salmon on peanut protein because it wouldn't have tasted like Gate salmon. It would have been like peanut butter. Yeah. So it's like, it was more like a kind of, it was like a bit of a, the peanut was like our core, but then the almond was that next step for us being like, all right, well, we're more going to put this product out as a bit of a FU to the rest of the industry, being like, we're happy to not make as much money on this just to give the customers a better experience
for sure.
and to level up the entire industry. And I feel like that's what our almond protein has done. Like, it's like, you know, we'll have people try our almond protein and they'll be like, I'm never drinking another vegan protein ever again. This just tastes like shit compared to this. So I think for us, it's like, what makes us different is like, we don't just put the profits and the cost side of, like, you know, like all the big brands, it's just like, we got to make it as cheap as possible and sell it for the most. Whereas for us, it's like, we're sort of happy that, we might like not make good money on our almond protein, but overall as the whole range, the peanuts will help balance it out and overall we'll grow bigger as a brand. And it's just that bigger picture. So I think product is the number one, customer service, growing the community. You know, we've got an epic like Facebook community page that we've been ripping into the last few months.
Sick.
And then hyping like all our launches. But also like you look at Macro Mike's launch calendar, you know, we're pretty much doing something every month. Something, either a new flavor, new drop, limited edition, free gifts, like mystery proteins where you can guess it and win. It's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
mad.
And I feel like if I was a Macro Mike customer, I would be like, man, this brand's so mad. And I'd buy everything, you know what I mean? So I always try and like think what would be a cool experience for our customers and put myself in their shoes.
100%.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably as well, if we drill back a tad on that too, man, it would be the fact that you are more niche and you're still so hands-on.
Totally.
You know, and I think it's funny, man, because like you saying now that, I'll never be a BSC or we'll never be a BSC or a, you know, fucking Muscle Nation or whatever, all the others. But it's funny, man, because it's time in the game, right? Time in the game is what yields the biggest results. And like the longer you do something at a really, really high level for, the more of the market that you will take over. And I think it's funny, man. I'm going to liken it to someone in my industry, Harry Triggerboff. Do you know who that is?
Nah.
Developer of Meriton, right? And so like when I first heard about Harry Triggerboff when I was 19, when I bought my first apartment, dude, he had 3,000 apartments and he was worth about 10 billion. Now he owns over 6,000 apartments and he's worth about 40 billion. He's one of the richest men in Australia. I bet you any money when he started out and he was small and he was niche. All right, maybe he did think he was going to be huge at some point. But dude, he's like almost 90 now and he's still in the game, bro. He was interviewed by Boris the other day, man. He's still throwing out bombs and all the rest of it. You know what I mean? He's still a beast and he's still going, man. You know what I mean? And it's like, he's still head of the company. He still makes the big decisions. You know what I mean? And like, you look at those other companies that are monsters, you know, and it's like, man, they will never, in my opinion, they'll never give it the same sort of love and care that you will, which will make it bigger than everyone else. You know what I mean? And I think like when you look at the people that have done really well in so many different industries like that, when they've kept their finger on the pulse with it, and especially when they're vested in it and they love it themselves. And I think even for you, dude, like tell me you wouldn't love making these new creations and trying the new shit. You know what I mean? Like after we jump out of here, literally on the way to the airport, I'm going to order some of those birthday cake because I forgot how good they were and I've used them all since I ordered the last lot. So I think it's funny, man, like all that sort of stuff. It's like, I don't know, dude. I just feel like you're on the trajectory is finally starting, you know what I mean? And like you're obviously been killing it for a few years, but I think it's only up from here.
Yeah. And I think
which is cool.
Probably the last 6 to 12 months has kind of been like, like we said earlier, you know, like more people that I meet have heard of it than haven't.
Yeah.
And like, I've never really sort of like compared myself to any other brands really. I've always just tried to like be like, this is Macro Mike. Yeah. This is our journey. It's different to everyone else's journey. I'll just make it as big as I personally can, but I'm not too fussed what everyone else is doing. And I think that's why it's stayed pretty grounded, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I think the other thing as well, man, people are becoming more and more willing to pay a little bit more for good shit as well. You know what I mean? Like if something's going to make you feel rubbish, you're not going to feel or look as good. And then you try something else and you feel a lot better. Man, you're going to keep, for one, ordering that product. But for two, you're going to tell your family and friends about it as well.
And also, bro, like when, you know, like to put it into context, like when we first launched the protein Macro Mike, it was $69.95 like 4.5 years ago. It's $79.95 now. Yeah. It's $10 more.
Yeah.
We were expensive at the start. We haven't really inflated our price.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like, if you take inflation into account, everyone else below inflation.
And whey protein has tripled in the last like 6 years.
Interesting.
And so now, you know, like when you look at, we used to be a real premium product. And I remember when we launched our bacon mixes like 7 years ago and we was $19.95 for a bag of brownies. And everyone's like, fuck, that's so expensive. Yeah. Now it's like $20 is, what do you get for $20? You know what I mean? So I think like we probably like, the reason we've been successful now is because we probably are really comparative in price.
Yeah.
But like you said, when people try the product neck for neck, they're like, oh man, I'd pay for Macro Mike all day over like that product.
Yeah,
so
100%.
maybe that's why we're starting to like really get some good trajectory. Like,
that's sick, man.
Yeah.
I love that, eh? You know what's funny, bro? I actually, I forgot about this the other day. We got home. This is when I found I needed to go to IGA to get myself a fresh bag, right? We went out to the farm. I bought his farm out past Millwillimba. And we went out there and Morgs brought out the bag of Golden Gay time. And bro, everyone was scooping it in the morning and having the shakes in the morning. I full forgot about it. This was only last week, 2 weeks
Sharing
ago.
the love.
100%.
Sharing
Man.
the gay time,
getting
love
around it. Man, one of the chicks, they've got, you know, you can make the ice cream. And
Ninja Creamy.
Yeah, she sent me a photo last night. She made it with the gold. She's like, it literally tastes like Golden Gate.
It's mad. It's so good.
Get around it. That's mad. Sick. How good. Man, I'm pretty much running through most of my stuff here, dude. And I think, man, I've got a few things I always love to finish these sort of conversations with. It's more around probably like what your thoughts are around high performance. And before I jump into that though, I just want to know, even to round out, you've had an incredible journey. Obviously you've gone through so much. What are the key like lessons or learnings? You know, I know you and I spoke the first night we met about Macro Mike Gym and different things like that.
Yeah.
What are key learnings? Because obviously like there's a lot of struggle through business always. There's always things that work well and there's always things that fucking fail along the way as well. It's part of being an entrepreneur, failing forward, keep moving forward. What are the biggest things you probably learned from lessons and potentially like losses, right? So I only think something's a loss if you don't learn something from it. Losses, learnings. What are the biggest things you've learned through the journey of even things that potentially have and haven't worked out?
Yeah, really good question. I think like, you know, like we said before about just like keeping the passion in there. And I think like as entrepreneurs, we do really put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? And like, I think there was, you know, so we bought a gym through COVID and it was purely just a passion project. Like, you know, a friend was kind of struggling with the gym and Macro Mike was starting to really blow up. And I was like, you know, all the staff were working from home during COVID. I was like, this could be like a fun project. We had all our holidays booked and then they all got canceled. So we ended up like buying a gym, fitting it out. And it turned into an absolute disaster. I think there's 460 gyms on the Gold Coast and there's 112 in Burleigh. And it was just like, man. So it was like, you know, you're trying to like sell memberships and, you know, then we just had like a real bad run of staff. Like, the bloody old gym manager tried to like fight me and it was just, man, it was an absolute disaster, bro. To the point where I haven't even been to the gym for like 3 months. I've just been swimming because I need like a detox from the gym. But I think the biggest thing is like not putting too much pressure on yourself if you do go down one avenue and it doesn't work out.
Of course.
You know, you look at all the stuff we've spoke about today, like with Woolies turned into Coles, with like the contract manufacturing blowing up all our bags turned into us now manufacturing for some of the biggest brands in Australia, you know, like some of those that we spoke about, some massive companies we actually make plant-based protein for.
Yeah. This is in what do you call it?
Just our manufacturing plant.
So manufacturing plant. So you manufacture a product for them? Literally,
yeah. We'll do all the MPD, the whole process, get the bags, like finished product. So I think like, you know, it's okay to fail and it's, you know, you shouldn't really be like too hard on yourself. And I think like, also just like keep going because usually when something goes bad, there's usually something really good that either comes out of it or is like right around the corner.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, just like learn to like really enjoy the journey rather than just always thinking like, I'm going to work for 10 years and then I'm not going to work again. It's like, you know, if you're not enjoying the journey piece, like, man, that's the funnest part, right? Like all the wins, like, so for me, and you probably felt the same, bro, but like, you know, we've been entering that, like you said, the food and bev category for like 5 years, right? We've sat there for 4 years, bought tickets, taken the team, bought friends, bought family, sat there, and the winner is, and it's not me. And it's like, it's been that like gut wrenching, like, oh man, you know, so happy for the winner, but just like, what do I have to do to get there? But like this year, I felt like sitting at those awards was the first year where I was like, you know what? Like I can say like, if I don't win this award, there's literally nothing I could have done in the last 12 months, like nothing, because I've literally given it 110%.
Yeah.
So I was super at peace with like, if I won it or I didn't win it. Yeah. Whereas like the other years, it's kind of been like, I've put all this pressure on myself to win this award. And so like, man, it was like, I mean, you would know, it was just the best feeling, like when they like announced my name, and I was just like, it just meant so much to me because it's like, it's been such a big year and I've just like given it everything, and it was just that like icing on the cake. So
100%.
I think like trying to take time to like really enjoy the journey, but also like slow down and celebrate the wins, because we sort of have like so many fires to put out every day and there's so many negative things, and it's just like, you know, you're on this roller coaster of like, you're on cloud 9 because you just bought a property, or, you know, you just signed a new lease or whatever. And then the next minute you're having to fire someone, or, you know, like someone you got
like a recall or something.
Literally, bro. So it's like, you just feel like you're in a washing machine getting thrown around. So I think you've got to really double down and like celebrate the wins, you know? Yeah. What do you reckon?
100%. Dude, I 100% agree. I think it's a crazy thing, business, because there's so many ups and downs, like you say, but it's all, man, like ultimately, like you should be always moving on upwards trajectory. And man, so often I almost gave up in my first year, because at the end of the first year, dude, I had no clients. You know what I mean? And like I had a couple of people sign on, commit, and then they didn't go through and buy. And I'm like, fuck, like, dude, I got to the end of the first year and I almost hung up the boots, because I was just going to become a developer, owner builder. Oh, sorry, not an owner builder. I was going to get my building license and start developing my own projects if it didn't work out after a year. And then I went for this one just all in moment right at the end of my first year, and it paid off, man. And I just rolled the dice, went hard on everything, and it finally paid off. And the rest is history, dude. But it's a funny thing, like, if I'd stopped then, like, we never would have met, you know. I never would have moved to the Gold Coast. Like, I'd probably still be on the farm or something. I probably would have gone down the path. I would have done other stuff. I would have done all right, but I wouldn't have ended like where I have now. And like, I think those moments of, especially doubt, it's all part of it. Anyone that's done anything great in history, in their lives, anything, they've always had doubt. Doubt's part of it, you know what I mean? And man, getting hit by shit on the way through and all the rest of it, man, it's all part of it. And you've either got to, and it's especially people listening to this, and if you're going along, or if that comes up in the future, like, you just got to embrace it. You got to tackle it. You know, solutions-based thinking, move past it. And it always hurts. It's always hard at the start. And then you're like, it's a reps game, right? Like the more you do it, all of a sudden, like, firing someone or whatever, as much as it's unpleasant, it just becomes it just becomes normal.
100%.
And then like that big thing that like, fuck, a year ago, that was the biggest thing ever. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, this is how you deal with it. Or you just delegate it to someone that now has dealt with it multiple times. And I think like the more you go through this and get through it and push through all those hard points, man, the better you get at all this stuff. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, I love it. Actually, it's funny. I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur until we were at those awards, the first ones that we met at, and Morgs was sitting next to me, and she literally said something along those lines of like, you're literally the definition of it when they were reading out the rap sheet of everything. And I'm like, I never thought about myself as that. I was just someone that like implemented heaps of shit and I just came up with stuff and just did it. You know, I just didn't think about it. And it's not until, and it's funny, again, high school dropout, no university, just grinded, figured shit out, hustled. And like, man, all those sorts of things combining together and keeping that moral compass. And this isn't my story. So there's things that, you know, I've been burnt by in my past that created my moral compass. The same as like you had events that created yours as well. And I think like having all those things coming together and formulating as one big hit, man, it creates the ultimate entrepreneur, business person, and just like all around fucking good person that's going to create good things, you know? So I love it, man. I think it's awesome. So long-winded way of saying I completely agree with you.
Absolutely, bro. On the complete same page. I feel like our journey's obviously so different, but so much alignment too, you know. And I feel like we've, you know, both went to the school of hard knocks and came out all right. Hey.
Yeah, 100%, man. Mate, I'm definitely not complaining, mate. Exactly as we were saying before, like a loss is only a loss if you don't learn from it. If you learn from everything and you implement and you fucking try your hardest not to fall into those same mistakes again, then you're only a better human when these things happen every time. Better human, better business owner, better entrepreneur, everything. So yeah, man, I think it's good. I think it's really good. Now, before I jump into my final pieces, I almost forgot to ask you to tell us a story about the smoothest, creamiest protein in the universe. With your sexy head there, with the stack of protein pancakes. Man, I'm going to throw it on here. You didn't ask me to do this. I did it because I literally love this stuff. Man, talk us about the story. Oh, and also, I got to throw it out. Bro, these things are the greatest invention ever. So I'm literally going to Sydney after this. I'm down there for 2 days. The single serves. I don't need to take a whole bag.
Yeah, so
it's the best. I love it. Mate, tell us the story.
Yeah, man. So we it was probably like 4 years ago when we bought the gym. There was like, I don't know, I think it was maybe Ghost Nutrition or one of the big American brands that I saw him doing, like, it was like Crash Bandicoot or something, like as like a brand collab.
Okay.
And in my head, I was like, oh man, that's kind of cool. Like, you know, if you could like leverage another brand and do like a collab. And so like reached out to this is kind of through like a agency sort of thing. And it was kind of like, oh yeah, we've got like, you know, this and this that are like really easy to get. And then we've got this like Golden Gay Time, which is kind of like, oh, like they might be keen, but it's going to be like a lot of legwork.
It's like the Hail Mary, yeah. It's a big
and so I was kind of like, I sort of said, all right, well, I probably want to go after the one that's harder to get because I don't want to just launch an easy one and then you give it to everyone or everyone just copies it. So it was kind of like, all right, cool. Well, we'll do some background and talk to Streets and Unilever and whatever. And then it kind of just like fizzled for like 2 years or something. And then also I think Macro Mike probably wasn't really massive at the time. So they were a bit like, oh, you know, is this even worth our time?
Yeah.
And then, I can't remember how it came back up or like I think they took on a new team member who was specifically going after like protein brands and supplement industry. And he just hit me up and he said, oh, you know, we've got these like easy ones. This is kind of just plug and play. Yeah. We can just, you know, you can just slap your logos on. It's good to go. You don't even have to approve anything. I was like, nah, I want the Gay Time. And he's like, oh, yeah, the Gay Time. You know, I could tell it was just a pain in the ass. And I was like, that's why I want it because I know it's hard for you to get it.
Yeah.
And so it was like back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. And then there's like, you know, minimum royalties, minimum guarantee. Like it's big money, right? So it was a big gamble from our side. And then, like kind of got it soft approved. They were kind of keen, but it was very much like, okay, this is kind of how it has to be called like Golden Gay Time inspired flavor. It can't, like blah, 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 blah. There was all these kind of like contingencies.
Yeah.
And then, like it finally got over the line. And then it was kind of like, I think 38 or 42 iterations of different versions.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like
no
40,
way.
like 30, 40 different
versions of it. Refinements.
Totally.
Yeah, sick.
Back and forward. And then
you can taste the 40 refinements in it.
Literally, right? Yeah. And then like obviously went through the lawyers back and forward, like got the agreement signed up and, you know, it has like minimum guarantee hurdle rates that you got to hit.
Okay.
And I think we did something like 5 times the stretch goal of what they wanted us to hit, like in the first 2 months or something. So they just like
you did 5 times that.
I'm pretty sure, it was like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And so we're in talks with like another really big brand for next year as well.
Yep.
Is
it the Magnum Ego?
I wish it was Magnum A. Well, I don't even know who owns Magnum.
I don't know either.
I have to have a look. Yeah. But like it's another really cool one. Yeah, and again, it's a really hard one that they were like, you know, this is really difficult to get.
But now you got the runs on the board.
That's the thing, bro. And like it's we knew that, and it was a massive team effort. Like the whole team were involved in making it happen. But we knew that once we could get one happening, then it would open up so many more doors.
Yep.
So it was pretty awesome.
It's 4 years in the making, but man, so worth it. Yeah, like you guys are so
and there's more SKUs on the back of it too. So we've got like a donut mix coming. We've got like a macro shake coming. There's a bunch of different
no way.
Yeah, man.
Off the back of this.
Same flavor.
Yeah, sick.
Just in different product formats.
So is a donut coming out?
Yeah, man.
Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Is it hectic?
It's mad. Yeah.
That's mad. Yeah, I got to come around to the factory. I got to try this out, man.
Come check it out.
That's
mad. You can be involved in the MPD.
Beautiful. I'd love to.
There'll be 42 iterations of it. So
I'll come out looking like your son like Michelin, man. Yeah. Oh, that's cracker, bro. How good. Well, congratulations, man. Honestly, like I know I brought this up multiple times, right? And like I'm not, this is not, you know full well, this is not fucking paid endorsement or whatever, man. This is something I absolutely love. And man, I think when I'm always someone, if I back something, if I believe in something, I'll just throw it out there. You know what I mean? Like I love it. I love it from that side. So yeah, man, hats off to you. It's an amazing product, dude. And you've, man, obviously worked really, really hard to get there. I'm super excited to try the donuts, to try the drink, the shake. And then, yeah, man, to see what iterations coming next year for a different product as well.
Thanks, bro.
That should be sick, man. No worries, brother. No worries, man. Mate, I always like to finish up. There's a few things, right? So a few different questions, obviously, that I like to run through on a final piece. I like to do a bit of a rapid fire, man. So it's kind of, it's always a nice way to kind of wrap up in terms of how you see even the top 1%, right? And how they operate. One quick thing though as well, man, obviously married, young kid, another one on the way, 2 successful businesses, monster businesses, a lot of staff. How do you go juggling all that as well? And you're one of the happiest people I've ever seen with his wife. So I know married life is good to you. Like you obviously enjoy it. Yeah. And that's a genuine thing that I've seen it on your face when I obviously met your wife at the awards and everything too, man. How do you manage all that, man? A huge team and being so involved and then still having such a happy, because so many people, they might do really well in business and they're fucking shit in their personal life.
And you know, bro, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, you know, like I think everyone will tell you that. Like, it is hard, but it's about showing up and putting effort in and like the little things. And, you know, me and Laura have gone through like periods where it is tough because it's just work. And we're like, hey, where's our relationship gone? But we just have to like really put effort in. And like Jack's just given me this whole new motivation of like, you know, just trying to be this awesome dad figure. But yeah, bro, like I'll be honest, like I do find it tough, and like, you know, especially with the gym piece, because like the gym, like I said before, was like my happy place and, you know, helped me with like my mental health and stuff. And when we did have that sort of like toxic period with macro gym, and it kind of just got to the point where I didn't even want to go to the gym because it just like had all this negative energy and stuff. So I've just started swimming like the last 3 months, and it's just like been super like crystal clear clarity, and it's just me in the pool. Put my phone away. No one can bother me because I can't have my phone in the pool.
So you don't strap the waterproof case to your head and like make up the calls?
That'd be cool. Put the Bluetooth on. But yeah,
wear a helmet and have it sitting on the face.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, like that's been real good. And then, you know, you've got to give yourself the best possible chance, like sleeping good, getting good food in. Like that's the number one, right? Like you know, your body's a vehicle, right? Like, so, you know, you're not going to put like bloody E10 fuel in your vehicle. You're going to put the premium 98 in there, right? 100%. So same thing with what I eat. Like, but yeah, bro, it's just, you just got to show up and put the effort in. There's no shortcuts. And there's good days and there's bad days. So I don't have a secret. I don't have like 4 a.m. I get up and I Wim Hof breathe in my ice bath for 6 minutes. And then I go for a 12K bike ride. Nah.
Swim in the canal, tackle a couple of bull sharks.
Honestly, man, I just like some days I'm feeling hella good. So I'll do more. Other days I just need to like look after my energy levels and, you know, like adrenals and stuff. Just take it one day at a time.
So no different to any other relationship. You guys you have to work hard on it as well. And
totally,
it's just
man. We've always had like a date night, like once a week. And we just lock that in.
Beautiful.
And so Jack, even when we had Jack, like Jack goes to stay at his grandma's and then we'll always try and do something. And that's been like a really good pivotal part of that. Because man, when we first met, like we used to, so I was probably like 6 months into Macro Mike, you know, Laura like believed in me, but she was like, you're crazy, in the nicest possible way. And we used to just like so I was selling pub crawls in the day. And then we used to go to Watso, which is like a shared office in Varsity.
Oh yeah.
We'd go there at like 8 p.m. and we'd stay there till like 2 a.m. doing working on the website.
She was with her?
Yeah, we were just both hustling. She was doing apps and stuff while helping with Macro Mike. Then we'd drive all the way back to Surfers, sleep at my place, and then I'd be up like pub crawls, work, like just trying to balance it all. You know.
What did she think of the concrete mixer in the kitchen?
Yeah, she loved it.
She loved it?
Yeah.
Was that like your decor? Like, she liked it?
Yeah.
That's mad. How good. I love it. I might have to get one in my place.
Yeah, bro.
Sweet, bro. Mate, final questions, wrap this thing up. What are you working on now? If you like, there's some top secret shit.
Yeah.
Outside of that?
Yeah, so like basically number one thing for 2025 is like revisions on products.
Okay.
So we've kind of called like, you know, what's not really working very well.
Yeah.
And we've also put like, now we've got this community group. We put up like a bunch of polls like, hey guys, here's our hot chocolate. Here's our baking mixes. Give us some feedback. Do you want to remove ingredients? How can we make it better?
Yeah.
And then from all that information, we compiled that on social media through our community group. We then sort of like redone 3 or 4 product ranges for 2025. But yeah, we've got January launch with heaps of limited edition birthday products in Jan. February, we're doing a whole new performance range. So we've got like aminos, hydration, greens, and creatine. And then March, we've got Easter launch. April, we're doing new bacon mixes, new hot chocolate, new mug cakes.
Yeah.
May, not sure yet, but something. And then June will be end of financial. So we've pretty much got plenty happening.
That's hectic.
Yeah.
That's hectic.
Just got to send it to the moon.
Are you doing it like a mad pack for all that performance stuff? Like you're going to bundle it all in?
Yeah.
Mate, send me a link. I'll pick one of those up when they come through as well. That'd be sick. I'd like to try it all out.
Get the gains.
That's it, man. Get the gains.
Gains.
Oh, that's good, bro. I love it. I love it. Man, what was the best piece of advice you ever received from a coach or mentor?
From small acorns grow big trees. That's what my dad used to say.
Is this like very similar to your Chinese bamboo tree analogy?
Chinese bamboo tree.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, it's true, right?
100%.
You know, you look at an acorn and then it grows into a massive tree.
Yeah.
So I think don't ever let somebody small-minded like sort of dampen your dreams and shit. You know, it's like, man, when you have an idea and everyone's like, oh,
everyone's shit cans it.
Yeah, everyone's shit cans it, right? And like, you know, I'd be selling pub crawls and I'd be like skating off to the post office with my parcel of fucking brownies, and the boys would be like, oh, you're dropping off your brownies, mate. Like, how's your brownie business going? Like, I'm like, yeah. And then the funny thing was, 2 or 3 years later, a bunch of the pub crawl guys, when it was real dead in COVID, because no one was
come and ask you for a job.
They come and work for me.
Did they work for you? Oh, that's not. Are they still there?
No. They just come and pack some brownies and stuff. But yeah, it's funny how it all comes out.
Did you ask them how the brownie business was when they came work?
But no, it's all love, man. Like I get it. But yeah, it's just funny how like everything works out. But yeah, I think just like, you know.
What do they think of it? Like when they came work for you, they must have been like crazy, huh? Yeah,
everyone I take to see it is mad. Like honestly, bro, like the saddest thing for me is just that my mom and dad didn't get to see it. Like, you know, it's real tough. Like, and same with like, we got married and my mom wasn't there for the wedding. That was tough. Like, I think, but you know, again, it just goes back to like, my family now is Jack and Laura. We got another baby on the way. It's like, you know, I'm just going to make sure that that's my legacy and family and stuff.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. No, that's awesome, brother. Mate, if you could pass on one piece of advice to the next generation of entrepreneur coming through, or business owner, whatever it is, the next gen coming through, or whatever, of any age, trying to make something of themselves, well, what would be the best piece of advice you think you could pass on?
I think you got to be really passionate about what you're doing. You got to work really hard and not expect it to be easy. Tunnel vision, you know, don't get too distracted by what other people are doing. I know a lot of brands similar to Macro and Mike, you know, they're always kind of like on the back foot, copying, but it's like, you got to be original and innovate and also just do it for yourself. So I think, yeah, like just send it.
Just send it?
Just send it. In the most practical way possible. Like you've just got to have a crack, right? Like, and give it a go, because like when I kind of did the brownies all in, I was like, worst case scenario, if this doesn't work, I'll just go back to selling pub crawls. I'm no worse off whatsoever, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Did actually resonate a lot with what you said there as well. Like, you know, find something you're passionate about and then fucking send it. Because in reality, man, I look at like my biggest needle moving, and everything in life, in my opinion, is 1%ers. Like those little things, you'll be competing against someone else, or like, you know, out there in life against someone else. Someone's probably doing the same amount of work as you, right? But like, the 1%ers are what takes you to a different level, right? But if you're also super passionate about what it is that you do, you're going to be able to play that longevity game longer than anyone else. And I've seen people in my space that have done well for a couple of years and then they sell out of the business because they're like, well, I made a couple of $1 million a year and then I sold it out for X amount and then sweet, I'm good. And then I love it because that's how almost all my competition is. And I know they're all going to go down that avenue, whereas I'm just still climbing this fucking mountain and now they're all little specks in the distance. You know what I mean? And like, man, I think this is one of the things, like when you have that passion piece there, that passion piece plus the grit, determination, keep pushing it onto that different level, man, no one can keep up with you, know what I mean? Like the only people competing with you are the big organizations, you know what I mean? And like at the end of the day, you're still running your own race because you're niche. And you're such a different product to what they mass produce as well. So I love it, man. I think that's a really, really good one. My final question around this too, dude, is what's the most consistent character trait that you've ever seen in the top 1% of performers that you've ever come into contact with?
Just hustle, eh? It's just like that relentless, like no matter how you're feeling, how your day's been, how your week's been, how your month's been, how your business is going, it's just you literally just show up, consistency over time. It's like, you know, I'm like not vastly intelligent. I'm not vastly like educated. I'm not vastly like lucky. I just have spent the last 8 to 10 years, 365 days, 8 to 10 hours a day, consistently doing the same thing. Fuck, you'd hope if you put 10 years into something, you'd be pretty good at it. You know what I mean? It's like simple as, man.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think just relentless showing up and just making it happen.
Yeah.
I don't have any secret herbs and spices. It's just
relentlessly showing up.
That's
a pretty fucking good
no matter
one.
what you feel like, you know, if you even if you feel shit, you do a couple of hours and you do the essentials, and then you go back tomorrow and you send it for the full 8 hours. That's kind of how I've always been. Like, you know, you just kind of even if you're not feeling it, you kind of still at least do something. Keep the wheels turning.
100%, man. No, I love that, bro. I love that.
What about you?
For me, it's grit and determination.
Yeah.
So I think they're similar, but they're slightly different. But for me, it's always been grit and determination. Because if you've got the grit and the determination to keep pushing through, I mean, fuck, it literally is almost like the same thing, just said in a different way.
Why are you copying me?
But if you, but mate, if you now you know what, you said enough. I'm not even gonna get. No. If you keep pushing along something long enough, like you have the grit and determination. 100%. When shit gets thrown at you, you fucking wear it. You keep moving.
It's
forward.
like you've seen the have you seen the little the image of the guy with the pickaxe and trying to find the diamonds, and there's one, man, and it's right there. It's like that's
just
like,
behind the wall, right?
100%.
Man, 99% of people turn and walk away because they get jack of it. That 1%.
Like you, 1 year in, you said you almost gave up. Like me, the bags all popped. I was like, this is too hard. Got no money. Like almost gave up so many times. Yeah. But it's like, there's obviously something that we had at the back of our head, being like, nah, like this is gonna be worth it,
Bro, it's a grit determination. It's a relentlessly following it. You know what I mean? It's
sending it.
That's what makes the top 1%. This is actually why this podcast is called the top 1%. Because when we boil it all back down to it, man, these character traits, and whether this is the thing, man, some people may not think they have it in there.
Totally.
You know what? Next time it's fucking hard, just don't give up.
Yeah, totally.
Just keep pushing.
Yeah, totally.
It's as simple as that. Like, yeah, it's fucking hard. It's hard for everyone that keeps going and that does it.
Yeah.
But like that's what's going to separate the difference between the 99% and the top 1%. So, man, I love that. It's a fucking hectic story, man. Honestly, I seriously
thanks
love
for having me on. I appreciate it. And
absolute pleasure.
It's been
man.
a journey.
Absolute pleasure.
And thanks for all your support just with Macro Mike, organically. Like, it's not, like we said, it's not like we're trying to plug Macro Mike or anything. It's just so cool.
I can tell you right now, dude, if I didn't enjoy your protein, I wouldn't have it on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I'm not that side. Sure. I'm not that side. It's not a fugazi with me.
No fugazi.
Man, honestly, I love it, man. I love what you do as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. The story's been mad. It's been inspiring. I'm sure heaps of people will take a lot out of it. I know a lot of people would actually love to hear the story of Macro Mike as well, man. So I'm so pumped to put this thing up.
Well, like you said, man, everyone just kind of is like, oh, is that Mike like a real person?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, bro. I didn't know.
For ages. Like, it's funny, even when we go to the expos and stuff, everyone's like, are you Mike? Like, you know what I mean?
Are you the Mike?
Yeah. But no, it's been a journey. Like, yeah, it's been a 10-year overnight success,
Yeah.
As it always is. The bamboo tree is strong.
That's it, brother. That's it. The 5 years of watering, and then she shot up. I love it, mate. I love it, man. Honestly, love what you do. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you took a lot of great value out of this episode. If you did, please make sure you send it on to someone else you think could also really enjoy this episode and take some value out of it as well. If you haven't left us a 5-star review yet, please jump on, leave us that 5-star review. And if you haven't hit the follow or subscribe button and you want to hear each one of them come out, we've got some massive stories coming up as well. Maybe not as good as Macro Mike's. His is a bit of a beast, but there's some mad stories coming up. Make sure you hit that follow and subscribe button so you get the pop-up and the alert every time those new episodes come out. Until next week, guys, that's another Top 1% podcast.